Hey y'all. People are here already? Wow, you guys are early. Am I late? Well, let's get it in. Now that you've killed me, here lies the body of the love of my life, whose heart I broke without a gun to my head. Here lies the mother of my children, both living and dead. Rest in peace, my true love, who I took for granted. Most bomb pussy, who because of me sleep evaded. Her shroud is loneliness, her God was listening. Her heaven will be a love without betrayal. Ashes to ashes, dust to side chicks. Peace, peace, peace to the east, the west, the north, and the south. Welcome to FleurBrun's experience. Excuse me, I gotta laugh. You know, one thing I say, whether that's Beyonce, her her Synthetica, she's got some music that is really thought provoking, and this is one of it because I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry. Let me say that one more time.
I ain't sorry. I'm joking today. Anyway, so as you see the title, and again, we're going to get into a new topic of discussion about what I see is becoming something that's being illuminated. And I think this is a conversation that we as adults have. Now, this, what I will say, because some of the mommies are home, big up to all the mommies home with the babies, like I was. So I just ask if your babies are old enough to understand and quantify the sexual conversation. I ask mommies that you listen to this lady later, put headphones on, usher your little ones out the room. This is my public notice announcement because this may not be appropriate for little people. And again, some of you have little ones in school already, but this is going to be a little bit more piloted a discussion, and it's not FleurBrun After Dark. So I just give you that warning because I know a lot of moms listen to me and parents listen to me, and I'm very mindful of the little people listening to conversations that might be too adult. Prepared for our conversation. Okay. All right. Okay. I just want to turn that off so I don't have that on. So listen, we're going to get into discussion. Peace, peace, peace. Peace, everyone in the house. I see ciphers on the house already. I already just spoke to Sid. Sid, you're on here. Peace. I just spoke to two of the sea stars. I think Sid and Lynn. Big up to Lynn. Big up to Sid. Big up to those who are in awareness. Big up to those who love themselves. Big up to those who just had a moment to realize that they're about to break out of Dodge and they're trying to hatch out their plan to get out. We see you. We got your back. Anyway, so we're going to talk about community wands. Now, notice I didn't put magic wands behind it because community wands. Now, if you're new to me and you don't know what a wand is, I'll give you a little synopsis. It is the phallus. It is the penis. It is the pecker. It is the sometimes the cedar. What else do you call we say in Creole, we say the coco, the huevo. It is that. So if you know, whenever I use that word wand, for those who are newer to this channel, I will say that is I usually say magic wand, but we're not talking about magic wands right now. We're basically just talking about wands, community wands that are making many of the sea stars very sick right now. So we're going to get in this adult conversation, and why this conversation is coming about, because as the awareness, a lot of the wonderful sea stars are waking up and becoming self-aware, especially our younger demographics. There is a heightened sense of urgency to discuss things that are perhaps going to be detrimental for their, not only just their mental status in the future, their their mental health now, and also for their biological field and their yoni space. Because obviously, if you are having sexual activity with a community wand, you must understand that that community wand has dipped and dabbed into many, many, many dark, wet, unsavory places, and that community wand can have you sick. Now, some of you may not even know that you are engaging with a community wand, and we will talk about how to detect when the wand is wandering around, basically poking and sticking in every hole possible, regardless if they're female or male or bisexual or transsexual. Like R. Kelly has an affinity for having, he personally likes a wand in his anal cavity as he is watching child porn, which he is a diabolical devil. That is why he is going down. So for anyone who is a fan of R. Kelly, this is probably not the channel that you want to resonate with, okay? So we'll get into the conversation about community wands and how that is making many, many sea stars systematically sick. Whether you are actually engaging with the community wand, remember that that type of parasitic vampiric being who is attached to the wand, the avatar that actually has the wand. Now, I'm going to give you an example of a very public one, a community wand, wand holder that many of you may know about. And if you don't, I will probably just give you a heads up about this being. This is someone I've talked about. I was one of the original people that actually had Kino, big up to Kino, who was on my original show on Blogtalk, who I did an interview blowing the whole spot on Nature Not, which some of you know as Nature Boy, or melanation, which is now called carbonation. They shapeshift their names based on getting busted and trying to hide from the public eye of censure that has been pretty much haunting them. Big up to Ashe Divine, who's blowing that diabolical parasites spot daily. Her whole channel is dedicated to basically letting all these wonderful, very naive or just not even human sea stars know that this being is actually on this planet creating havoc now in Mexico. He was originally in Costa Rica or Honduras, went to Costa Rica, got kicked out of Costa Rica, came back to the States, left the States, got kicked out of Belize, went back to Belize, got kicked out because the energetic field rejected him. Nature rejected him. His name is Nature Boy, but he's really Nature Not. Okay, so we're going to talk about community wands. Okay, Nature Wand. Oh, big up to Young Pharaoh, also, who's blowing his spot. Young Pharaoh and Ashe Divine, and also oh goodness, I know his name. Oh goodness, Mamadachi. Mind Over Matter. I'm sorry. I actually like his channel. You know, I had a crush on him in previous life and the timeline, but I behaved myself. Big up to Young Pharaoh. Big up to Ashe Divine. Big up to Mind Over Matter, taking care of this, giving all the intel on this being. Now, I bring this being on up to give a firm example of community wands that are basically out here making women sick mentally, sick physically, and actually attaching STDs, sexually transmitted demons, that they are unable to ever rid themselves of. But we're going to resolve that, because remember, we never talk about a problem without talking about the resolvement. But let's get into Nature Not. So Nature Not is one of those who came on the YouTube scene as calling himself the enlightened being. He was, talking about being in nature. And, I'm a fan because remember, he called me, was trying to get in contact with me initially because he knew I was a fan of nature and I'm a supporter of Mother Tiamat and anything that is coinciding with her. So he knew that I was the one to contact. But he should have also known I would see through a charlatan in 2.5 seconds, and had invited me to his jungle before he left. I was one of the first people he told. He went into the jungle. And the first thing that he did when he went to the jungle is started to stick his wand in every female possible that would enter into his stratosphere. And he's threatened to stick his penis in me, but I let him know that I have self-esteem and self-awareness, and I am anti to any viruses that he wants to inflict and pass on to everyone that he engages with, men and female. Okay, so Nature Not had created a quote unquote tribe, a pseudo tribe. Was out in Honduras. A lot of people were intrigued. Listen, women of color were intrigued. People of color were intrigued. I really supported the idea of it. I will say that. Support the idea of going in the jungle, clearing yourself, finding yourself in nature. Like I just dropped the phone. Finding yourself in nature, enjoying. They were naked and unafraid. I was all for that. Now this is where it goes left. The problem is that he was there inviting all these different people, and people were allured, and all these young ladies were going there, and men, because we don't even have the details on the men going there and probably having sex with Nature Not. But I'm sidebarring. So going there, and every time that they were going there, a new sea star that would enter there, he would have sex with them. Now, the issue is not that he would have sex with, maybe, listen, beautiful naked people. Listen, one thing about FleurBrun, clothing optional. I'm not a fan of clothing. I think it's unnatural for us to wear clothing all the time, at least in a way that, is depicted as we are forced to do consistently. But a lot of naked, shiny fruitarians, it is very sexually alluring. So I can understand the allure of having sex, especially meeting new, beautiful, bright people. But we found out there was a pattern for this vampire, and he was having girls come there, and every single woman that would enter his biosphere, his general location, he would have sex with them. And to our knowledge, he is having sex with them without condoms, with any sort of protection to shield them from anything, whether it be pregnancy, whether it be diseases, what have you. Normally when you meet someone, you have a time to kind of feel them out, get an ideology of their general consensus, what they do, how they rock. But, all the young ladies were open and spry. They saw this very popular man on YouTube. They were, Lord, his body was kind of tight. He was all greased up, looking all tropical. And they came and allowed this man to release the Kraken inside of them. So the problem is that he was doing it to women back to back to back. Come to find out that most of the people that were going there were allegedly had herpes. And if you know anything about herpes, it is a sexually transmitted demon. And herpes is just a manifestation of a type of mind thought that comes with a lack of love, a lack of acceptance. Herpes is also attached to forms of neglect. Usually someone who is cohesive to that vibration of dis-ease is in that type of vibration. It's sad. Listen, and I don't judge anyone, because remember, we've all been in a state of, dis-ease, whether it be sadness, depression, abuse, what have you. But the issue is when you come into contact with others like that, and people were going there having unprotected sex, exposing themselves to people with herpes. Now, young sea stars and our seasoned sea stars and our sun stars, what I will detail as one of the signs that you might be engaging in community wands is if you are going to meet someone, you want to engage physically, the chemistry is on point, the pheromones are on point. One of the ways that you realize that the person is not healthy is there is no inquiry. Listen to me, family. I'm seasoned. I've been around the block. There is no inquiry before having sex of your sexual activities, meaning that they don't inquire how many partners you had. They don't really inquire too much about your sexual hygienics. They don't really do a taste touch tester, kind of like they want to find out before they engage sexually. They want to see if you are smelling, hygienically sound, if you are anything. They just basically want to put it in, and they have no issue putting it inside of your yoni without a condom, without anything. They don't inquire. So when someone doesn't inquire about your personal, hey Lynn, big up to Lynn. When someone's not inquiring about your sexual health, it is a strong indication that something is going on with them, because that is a natural protection inquiry that we do naturally as people who want to stay healthy. And especially if we are healthy, you want to engage with other people who are healthy. But chances are, when you go and someone wants to have sexual relations with you and they do not inquire and they want to go in you raw and without any shielding, that is a strong indication that they are coming with a posse of some legions of sexually transmitted demons that they want to leash off on you for whatever reason. Maybe they just don't care. Maybe they know and they're resentful and they're mad and they just want to infect you because they're infected. But that is a strong indication that something's wrong with someone. Okay, something is up with someone, because anyone in this day and age would have to have an inquiry about that. Usually that's an inquiry. Even young sea stars will ask, have you done anything? Usually young ladies will ask, they'll get a general consensus, just naturally, even if they don't use some sort of shielding on their genitalia, they will still inquire. Someone who doesn't inquire or care, it is a sign that they're carrying something heavy. Heavy. When I say heavy, I'm not talking about slight chlamydia. I'm not talking about one of those claps. I'm not talking about a clap that doesn't clap back at you. Okay, I'm talking about something heavy, meaning something that stays with you, that builds antigens in you, that stays with you for a lifetime, that stays, it's a permanent resident in your body, that they become a permanent host. That whether it's AIDS or HIV, whether it's herpes, syphilis, the hefty ones would be something that people really want to veer free from. And the fact that the matter is if someone's not inquiring about your sexual health, prior to it, and they just want to jump in the gate any way they want, I would really look at them sidebar to say, why aren't they inquiring? Remember, Nature Not was having sex with not one, but every single, quote unquote, to my knowledge and to all the information that he put out there, he was having sex with every single sea star that came in his camp. And we are still suspecting that Key, which is one of the gentlemen that's there, he may be his direct as well. Direct means his mate. So he may be also, and also we find out later, big up to Ashe Divine, who actually gave the whistle, blew the news. We also saw the gay video of Nature Boy, Carbonation, Father Tahuti, whatever he calls himself now. Big up to Ashe Divine for releasing the tape of him on Pornhub, where he was getting fingered by a gentleman, a lunar gentleman, a white gentleman. Remember, he had something saying he doesn't engage with lunars or what have you, but it was an older white gentleman who was sticking his finger in his buttocks, and he was able to have an erection and actually orgasm on a video, and allow this man to masturbate him to the point and, release himself under this guise. So we've come to find out he has now since accepted that he said he wanted to be gay. What'd he say? He wanted to be, I'm sorry. Is this too much information? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend. Please, I already said, please, if this is something that's offensive, this is not a video for you. I'm going to get quite raw and a little bit real, because I think these conversations need to be had. Because I think a lot of times we sit idly and keep a lot of the little grandiose details, the big, I say little grandiose details, and we don't talk about it. And what happens is that then you get caught in a situation where you're like, I wish I knew that idea. I wish I knew that little detail that would have let me know. It would have been a trigger to allow me to see an aspect of something that I was unaware of. Listen, I had one and a half boyfriends before I got married for 17 years. So I'm speaking as one of those naivety ones who did not have a lot of sexual activity experience prior to being married. And I was married to the same man for 17 years. Okay, so I was with one and a half boyfriends. I would have appreciated the intel of people telling me and letting me know some of these signs of these community wands that are going off rampant, and actually sticking and moving. And also when they stick and move, they get some baggage along with them. They get some parting gifts along with them. Who's that? Oh, sorry. Someone's texting me at the same time. Okay, so this is why I'm bringing up Nature Not, because it's important, because he is the poster child of a poster man of someone who is a community penile abuser, who goes around having massive sex with massive people with no sort of accountability, and does not give others the opportunity to realize that this is something that they might encounter at dis-ease based on the fact of his reprehensible sexual behavior. And I think that's something that some of you should know. Okay? No, porn is not, well, we can, you already know, porn is attached to Satanism and Luciferian. Watching it also feeds deities that are outside of you. So we talked about this, making sure, if you're having sex, there are beings that feed off that sexual energy. We talked about succubus, incubus. We're not even just talking about that. We're talking about aspects, not just succubus, incubus, which are energetic sexual demons that are attached to your auric field every time you have sex with someone who's a community penile offender. Okay, penile offender. That's what he is. He's a penile offender, and there are many like him. And I am here to whistleblow, actually wand blow, the details on how these beings are able to just walk through the community unscathed and unannounced. We are announcing them. And I really think that some of you younger, more sassy sea stars, some of you are so feisty. I love our younger sea stars. Listen, I'm not so taxed. Some of you should make websites with some of these offenders and their penises, so we recognize them when we come in contact with them. I think just like we have warnings on pedophiles living in your neighborhood, we should have penile offenders on a public website, legally, without, because everybody's into people are very litigious, but on a website We need some of you young sea stars to put posters of these offenders so that the young and or the seasoned woman or any person who engages with these dastardly vampiric diseased beings has some forewarning, so that I know that I can go to the penile offenders website. I'm giving you ideas, sea stars. I'm a muse. Please make sure I get a free membership. Please create a website so that we can see these offenders and stay clear of them, so there's some consequence. Because I think what's happened with the community penile offenders, community wands that are creating problems, is that nobody wants to talk about it because some sea stars are so embarrassed. Listen, I'm a woman of a certain age. I've been past this stage. Like I said, I had 1.5 boyfriend before I got married. After marriage, I saw that it was like a cesspool of offenders walking around happily, freely, like they were in Sesame Street. You ever see Sesame Street when they're la la la, oh, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, like they were they were skipping around with their penises in every neighborhood, and nobody says anything about it. Like, it was all good in the hood. Like, their homies were like, yes, you slept with like 5 women in one night. Yes, you slept with her and her sister and her mother and her cousin. Oh, that's cool. Big up to you. There was no accountability. They're skipping around the neighborhoods as they're just as diabolical as pedophiles. Yes, I said it. You penile offenders are just as diabolical as pedophiles. Why? Is because you are walking around spreading dis-ease, giving women and men STDs, sexually transmitted demons, unchecked, unannounced, and without consequence. I have a problem with that, and I think it's time, especially with the breaking of the imperial patriarchal code. Big up to all the sea stars who are free from the tyranny. I know many of you are celebrating with your penis parties and your yoni parties. I support you and your freedom and being untethered and you being just free with your your clothing. You're just feeling good and shea buttered up. I support you, but we need to announce and shame these beasts that are running around rampant, having sex with random women constantly. And the women sometimes know, sometimes they don't. Like I said, I didn't have an idea of certain type of males when I got out of marriage. I would have appreciated to go to penisviolators.com. I'm giving you ideas, sea stars. Whoever does it, like I said, I want a free membership. You should, please. Penisabusers.com. And be able to check the website to see if the man that was consistently calling me and soliciting me or would like to take me out on a date, I would love to have an awareness that he was a violator of our females, because he's not going to detail it to you. You know how many penile offenders I meet and they do not detail it? They leave that little fact alone. Like, there was one that was I knew. He was an abuser of his girlfriend at home, which I was unaware of. But I always noticed that she was never around. She was always vilified, okay? But he was consistently soliciting me, though he was living in house with a beautiful, probably a very lovely sea star. I never assume what the truth is some of these men will tell you, oh, my wife is a devil, because they demonize you. And big up to our friendly neighbor witch, wisdom witch, Mama Wisdom Witch. I love her channel. Big up to her. I'm gonna put her a little thing. She was talking about narcissists yesterday. She had me in trade. Listen, Wisdom Witch. She's one of our wisdom witches. She was breaking down the narcissists, how they just have these little attachments to them, and men will go around telling other women that their wives and girlfriends are diabolical. That's why they seek out you, because you're so much better, you're so much more understanding. And then meanwhile they're vilifying their wife and girlfriend to you, so now you hate her thinking she's the devil. Meanwhile, she's a sweetheart at home dealing with all kinds of abuses, but he's told you that she was the devil. So now you have all these women who are being vilified without any indication that it's true, because the narcissist. Thank you, the Wisdom Witch. I really appreciated her video yesterday. It was so insightful. I love wisdom from a seasoned sea star. She's so seasoned, and she actually got down to, she called them, what she call them? What is it? The larva of a fly. She said they're maggots. She said the narcissist uses his maggots and he sends them on the main host to eat them up alive. That's what they do. So these community penile offenders, community wands, go around to others and guarantee, we've all met them. Some of us are sleeping with them. Some of us are being solicited by them. Some of you are born, giving birth to them. Some of you, that's your dad. So it's actually a systemic issue. So a lot of us know penile offenders because they're in our families. They're dating us. They're sleeping with us. They're some of your children. So it's actually a pandemic of penile offenders right now that are going around doing this. So I say to you, listen, if we broke the patriarchal code, the imperial patriarchal code, this is one of the wonderful aspects of this, is that we can discuss now the remedies needed to be able to exmate these offenders, lock them up somewhere, or warn sea stars with rationale. Because listen, you can warn some of these sea stars all day, but if he's good looking, he has enough money, they will ignore you anyway. That's what they deserve then. Listen, I'm not talking to those sea stars who you will tell all day that he's a piece of work, and you will say, listen, he cheated on his wife with 50 million women. He's created babies all over the world that he does not really even get involved with. He is also sleeping with his neighbor, his cousin's neighbor, his friend's girlfriend. You could tell them that all day, and they may still even want to be with him. That's a testament of their consciousness. That's not your problem, and that's not for you to worry about. All I'm saying is that it's great to have the self-awareness that these beings actually exist and how they are violators. And just like I say, we get pedophile notifications. If you got Amber Alerts on your phone, we should have wand alerts on our phone. Penile offending wand alerts. Can someone please make that app, please? So I know that there's a penile offender in my neighborhood, and that if he's moving into my neighborhood and I see him running outside with his shirt off, looking all handsome and glistening, and he just looks like a chemistry wire. I could smell his pheromones down the block, and then all of a sudden I get a penile alert, beep, 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 beep. And then when I get the penile alert, he's a penile offender. So automatically shut down, grid up, grid up. He's not one for me. He's going to be excommunicated. This is what I'm saying. We need this, sea stars, because what's happening now is that these men are being unchecked. You got R. Kelly's running around talking about, I'm the Pied Piper, and he's having sex with people's children, young underage women, allegedly, which the women, I just saw an interview, which was so tragic, of one of the young girls who was one of his sexual playmates at 16, which she's gone younger, because remember Aaliyah, rest in peace, Aaliyah. I don't want to dirty up her name, but Aaliyah was one of his overtly first violations. And she was talking about how he would walk in a room and beg for a dildo of a certain size to be rammed up his behind, and he would put his legs up to have this feeling. Like, these are the type of violations. And this is a man. Now listen, and this is something that you have to realize, my sea star season and otherwise. I learned this the hard way. When men are violators, when they are wand offenders, community wands do not like women. Listen to me, family. Community wands, I need to drink something for this. Because one of you probably just said something naughty in my head, you wand offender. I want a healthy wand. I appreciate a healthy wand. I want a wand that's exclusive. I like VIP wands, okay? I like a wand who just likes to stay in my neck of the woods. I appreciate a wand that stays perfectly healthy because they respect, the host of that wand respects himself. That's the kind of wand I'd like to engage with, and I do engage with, okay? So let me just go back. What was I saying? Oh, the criteria. Let's talk about characteristics of a man who is a community offender, wand offender, a penile offender, one of the characteristics is he hates women. He has issues with his mother. Okay, this is very, very common. It's very systematic right now, especially at the end of the cycle of the patriarchy. There was a lot of hatred of women. And usually the mother is the first one that they hate. So they generally, men who dislike women, it doesn't mean they'll not sleep with women. They will sleep with them, but they are venomous. They don't like women, so everything they do is an abuse and neglect of her. They resent their mother, so they will take it out on you. Thank you, Wisdom Witch. You know, Wisdom Witch, I want to have you as an interview. I'm going to interview her. I really appreciate her wisdom. Wisdom Witch, you know, Mama Wisdom, you know, she was just on the other day. I'm going to share her video. She was the bomb.com. She had me all riled up at home. That's right, I was appreciated. They got mommy issues. And these men are abusive to women, and they do not like women. And how you recognize them is because they're abusive to women, but they only like to hang out with other men. They always give credence to other men. They will always talk down about women, even though they're sleeping with them. They will always talk down about them. They will always be degrading, misogynistic. President Trump is one of them. He had a lack of, listen, allegedly, it's my opinion that he saw his mother being a passive person that he did not respect, or the father didn't respect her. I don't know this is fact, but just his behavior and how he subjugates women. Older men that tend to like younger women, like R. Kelly, who like younger women, those are signs that the men have issues with their mother as well. They're abusers. They're pedophiles in another kind of way, because they like submissive women. So they can never be with a woman at their same age. They always want younger women that they can control or suppress, or they can imprint them with some MK Ultra so much easier, because they haven't gained the wisdom. A young girl out the gate in her 20s is not like a woman in her 40s who's gained that reverence and knows herself and is in self-awareness. You know, a lot of times these older gentlemen will date women who are very, very young, because they themselves lack maturity. These males, they have retarded themselves in age. When I say retarded, I mean they've not grown up. So they're basically men that are limited cognitively. So they're stuck in a certain age or mental status, a mental status. So they can only deal with young women who are unaware. Like even with my Nazi, listen, big up to my Nazi. He only gets with very, very young girls now, because no one will tolerate his Nazism. And they're very naive, and they're very non-aware. Like one of them is, and he's getting them sick. See, another thing is that the one that he's with now, she has some sort of brain ailment where she's sick all the time. It's because of him, because he's getting her sick. Now, if she would have called me and said, hey, can you give me, or she would have gone to, or one of you C-stars would have had a site called Wand Defenders, with a narcissist, you know, like a part of the Wand Defenders that are narcissist sociopaths, like a part of the site that has Wand Defenders with narcissists and sociopaths, she would have known that he was an offender and that he will get her physically sick, because he is so narcissistic and abusive. Okay, so I'm sorry, Barton. So one of the criteria of these Wand Defenders is that they hate women. They're abusive to women, and they go through them because they really don't have an attachment. They don't have any sensibility to them. They don't really have a physical, they don't have any, they're very, they're very detached. They lack a connectivity to the female component, because based on the trauma that they experience with their mother. Now, what type of mother creates these diabolical beings? I'm going to give you the criteria of a mother who creates these diabolical beings. Mothers that are too strong-willed, who are abusive in their verbiage, meaning that they're always barking at their sons. They're always telling them what to do. They're never really giving love. They're always telling them what to do. They're always criticizing them. They're abusive. They're non-loving. That's the type of mother that, or they're neglectful because they're on drugs and alcohol, or they prioritize other men over their little boys. So the little boys grow up knowing that they're subsidiaries of males that are not even their father figures, or sometimes the fathers. So they feel non-loved and rejected by other males from their own mother. That's one of the criterias of some of these Wand Defenders, is that they grow up with very heinous, overbearing mothers that are very, very controlling. That creates men that want to get women to make them submissive. So they will go through women and they want to get women to submit to them. That's one of the criteria. Now we have an extreme opposite. You have mothers that are very passive. that allow their sons to do everything. They do everything for them sons. They're called mama's boy. You know, these boys are sometimes called mama's boys when they're too passive, the mothers, and they allow the boy to do everything, and they never give him consequences for anything he does. He could kill a cat in front of his mother, and his mother will just clean up the cat, put it away, and just pat him on his bum, and he'll go about his business. Too passive a mother can create a wand offender, a community wand offender, based on the fact that he's never had any sort of guidance from his matriarchy and any sort of repercussions for any of his reprehensible behavior, maybe because he was the boy was the only male figure in the house, so the mother took on the son as a subconscious kind of a husband figure. Some mothers, you do that. You give your sons the role of the husband because you don't have a man in the house, so now he's the man of the house, so now you give him that position, though it's not earned and it's not appropriate. So that can create a wand offender, mothers. So take note, mommies of boys, because if I have a boy, you best believe I've got the criteria for what creates this. I'm sorry. I'm getting hot. Wand offenders. We see you. Some of our younger, more sassy sea stars who are a little more, you know, and they'll know how to bypass the litigiousness. Make sure you don't go through any violating laws. Go around the laws, sea stars, to create this website. Because you know if you put too much of this information up, you could get in trouble. So I know many of you know the laws. Let's get an attorney part of this. I got a girlfriend who's an attorney. Let's have her part of this website. So we always are legally impound of having this. Wand offenders, your game is up. You're done. We're blowing your spot. So ladies and gentlemen, because some of our gay males need to know this too. Some of you gay males are being offended by wand offenders because you too are engaging with wands. So you too should follow some of these criteria of wand offenders because they will hurt and harm you too. And they will give you disease. Okay? They walk around walking STDs, sexually transmitted demons. They do not care about you. They're sexual deviants. Okay? They have a lack of self-awareness. That's why they stick their one. Now, let's talk about healthy males. Big up to our healthy males. You know, I go in on some of the diabolical aspects of our males, but let me, you know, let me, I'm sorry. I get so, and I have a fan on in here. Okay, let me chill out. Okay, so let's talk about males that are healthy, okay? So that you could recognize those, okay? Okay, so let's recognize some of the things that are beautiful about healthy males that are not community peniles. Males that are healthy generally come from backgrounds where it doesn't necessarily mean they have a mom and dad. It's healthy, I will say, a healthy father in the household with a boy and a mother, that does lead to healthier sensory, like their sensitivity to the female. Men who are very protective and loving with their mothers, not in an obsessive way or not like they're scared of their mothers, because there's a difference between men that are fear because they had overbearing mothers, so they fear them, and men who respect their mothers and want to please her because they love her as their son. Okay, there's a difference. But men who are very protective of their mothers, that is a sign of a man who is healthy, who is generally not a community wand, okay? Men who are very, very children-oriented, not like R. Kelly, okay? Not a pedophile. Because there's some men that just like to hang around children because they're pedophiles waiting like Russell Simmons for Kimora Lee Simmons to get of age so he could stick his dirty wand in her. We're not talking about those. Okay, let me pull back. I got a little hostile. Okay, not them. Okay, so men... I'm doing little digs. I gotta behave myself. Let me behave myself. Okay, so men who are family oriented, what you'll see a lot of times is I'll go to like family reunions or things like that, and I see these young men, like teens, even 10, and the little boys are very, very protective of their nieces and nephews, and they're actually guiding them, and they're participating with their younger siblings and younger people in their family. So that is usually a sign that he's a healthy male. Usually males that are very family oriented in that way, very people friendly, very children friendly. I mean, they're good facilitators and good family family participants, like I said, with the younger nieces and nephews and stuff like that, you'll notice that when they get engaged with a female, they're very, very nurturing, and they care about how they're seen in the world, and they care about how the partner that they choose, their mate, feels. Okay, so that is strongly a sign. If you have a chance to see a male, it's great if you're dating to see him in his family dynamics, and you'll be able to tell fact from fiction, because a lot of times they could fake the funk, but the children will think it's odd. So if you have somebody who's put on the, everybody has a representative. I have a representative. Everybody has a representative when you first start seeing somebody. It's your best. It's a representative is the person that you put before you that you want to illuminate to some other people. My representative doesn't really exist as much anymore because I really don't care. I'm on YouTube talking about aliens. I don't have much of a representative. My representative dissipated after my marriage did. But no, it's great if you can get a chance to go to someone's home and see how they are in their family dynamics. Even if they have a representative, the children will react to a person. Because I notice even when you already know, I love fathers. I love good father figures because I had one. So I always recognize when a guy is very protective of the little ones around him, or when he goes, the little ones always are running and gravitating to these type of men because they know that these are protectors, and they respond before the men can even put a PR. The little ones are coming over to play with them and say, uncle, uncle so-and-so, hey, or they run over and ask them to tie their shoes. That's a sign of someone who's very, very sweet and kind. It's also an indication that he isn't a wand offender, because that type of nurturing behavior, it disallows for them to run through people, because they're always in sync with people's feelings and they're very nurturing. Okay, so generally those are the type of males, when you meet them or date them, that and also we got to be careful, because those are also type of males that also attract parasitic females. Those type of males sometimes attract parasitic females who are very abusive. And it's very sad, because there should be a video, and I'm not the best person to make a video on that, but there are women who love a parasitic vampiric females that are abusive, that are attracted to very nurturing men. So they know and they smell them out, and they get with them and they abuse them. Okay, so I think that's very interesting, that needs to be a conversation too, because I think women are vilified enough. I don't have to get into that, because I don't need to perpetuate something that's consistently done. Women are vilified for just wearing short skirts or having their tetas out. Okay, so I don't want to get into that antics, because we already have enough vilifying. But one thing I say is that we have to be mindful of the type of men that are good, permissible mates for future mating, having children with, and also for marrying, if that is something that you want in the future. So that's another thing. Caretakers of their grandparents. One thing that is wonderful that I noticed, that with good, healthy males that are non-community, WAN community violators, is that men who are caretakers of their grandmother and of their aunties and their uncles and their grandfathers, those are also signs. Men who do well with the elderly. So men who are always walking, getting up on the bus, the train for an elderly woman to sit down, that's a sign that he's most likely a non-community WAN violator. He tends to get up and give his seat up to a woman. I remember many a times, because especially when I was taking the train when I was going to college, I went to, I live in New York City, so I went to college in the city. But I remember many times I'd be standing and, coming and running in the train. I can tell you so many times how many men, back then, it was very common for men to get up and give you their seat. It tells you the type of generation I come from too. And these were older men, but sometimes they were guys my age. They would get up and give me their seat because they didn't want me standing up. That's also a sign of someone who's a non-abusive. Now, there are men who do that for game, but we're talking about signs. One of them is, one, he's nurturing to elders. He is he's very loved and adored by the children in the family and in his general area. He's a good facilitator, and children gravitate towards him in a healthy way. He's outstanding caretaker of like his aunt, his uncles. You know, he's one of the guys that goes over to his uncle's house because he can't see, he has glaucoma. So he makes sure that he lays out his clothing for the next day. I know men who do that still. I know men who go to their father's house or their uncle's house and make sure that everything's taken care of so that they won't have a hard time the next day. They make sure they kind of lay out their day during the week. I've grown up with men like that. So that's also a sign of a great, you know, like I tell you, family, I will go in all day and give you the signs of the diabolical, but I also want to give you remedies and signs of the beautiful things, because you never want to go so far left that you can't come back right. So I always want to give you a chance to see things that are beautiful in men. One of the things with my father that my dad always did is, when my father and mother were dating when he was young, he would write my mother love letters. He would write her letters, just letters for, remember, and that's a certain age too, because maybe men don't do that as much, but that's also an indication. When a man takes time to write you a letter, not type you a letter, write you a letter and send it to you, that's also a sign of tenderness, taking time and effort. That's also a sign of a male who would most likely wouldn't be in the category of a community offender, okay, wand offender, a penile offender, because he is, you know, taking that time to write something special to someone, taking that moment. My father did that. So I still have the love letters my father wrote to my mother for years. And, you know, again, I think that's a beautiful, and I tell you how my father was with me and how he was with my mother. So we already know that that has come through. You know, I'm not talking from a state of not knowing, you know, I mean, I recognize it because it's something I witnessed myself. I see that. So I also see that as a criteria. When men incorporate yourselves in the activities that he does, when he wants you to be a part of his activities, that's also a sign of a good male. When he wants, like if he goes out and he does things daily, like remember before he met you, maybe he, I don't know, he did football and stuff, or he hung out at certain places, he starts to incorporate you in those activities without even thinking about it, without hesitation. You're the number one person he kind of wants to hang out with. That's also a sign of a man that's not, I'm not saying he can't be a community offender, because he could be, that could be his, now you got to have some discernment. That could be one of his his representatives, because representatives do that too. But I'm saying I'm giving you a host of things that men can do that show you this. So be careful, because men will put out representatives then because they know how to fish for women. Okay, so they may do all these wonderful things to fish you in, and then when they get you, is, you know, hit it, stick it, rub it, flip it onto your best friend. Okay, men who are friends with their exes. Men who are friends with their exes, whose exes have kind words. If you have a man, a young man who's soliciting and his exes are still friends with him, that's a good sign of a non-communal offender. Because usually if the past women have great things and still feel good, and they still feel cohesive to be friends. Now I'm not talking about sexual friends. Now let's, like I said, keep balanced and keep your intuition there. I'm talking about like his exes always have kind things to say about him. They have a good they still think well of him. That's also a sign of a non-community penile offender, because if a man has violated women, the women will still have issue with him because they'll still resent him from doing nasty things to them previously. So they won't have kind words to say. You won't be able to talk to his ex because she wants to tell you how dastardly. She'll probably put his penile offensiveness on the website when he stars it's going to create for penile offenders, and you'll see him already. Okay, so no, we're not talking about that. We're talking about women who say, listen, he is kind, he's sweet, he's wonderful. I really appreciate it. Maybe it didn't work out because personality difference, time differences, what have you. We're not talking about that, but if he still has good liaisons with exes, meaning that they're not bashing him or have resentment towards him, it's usually a good indication that he's a non-penile offender, a non-community offender, okay? Because community penises, community wands hurt people. They hurt families. They create children that are feeling unwanted. They are the perpetuators, and they are the diabolical demon seeds of our society. These are the males that go around systematically creating children that they do not want to be party to. These are the type of beings that go around hurting and maiming women so that they are damaged themselves, so they go around damaging other women and men and families, okay? These are the type of diabolical beings that get married just to hold one down, but still keep hitting, smacking, and flipping the sidebar that he was sleeping with previous to his wife. Okay, these are the type of diabolical beings that cannot say no. They're impulsively and egregiously, sociopathic in how they deal with the yoni space. They feel like every yoni is for hunting. They basically have a hunter-gathering type of mentality. You poor males. I'm blowing all your spots. Listen. The day of the community penile offenders, the day of the community wand offenders is on. Your spot is blown. What are you going to do? Because the self-awareness of the sea stars is here. This intel can only come out. I only get provoked. Well, I'm down with the Andromedans. You already know. Because I'm a contactee and seated by the Andromedans, this intel would probably always come to you anyway. But if you're listening to this, you're in alignment with it, and it's something that you needed to hear. Now, many of our sun stars, like even when I go with my sun stars, you could tell a community wand offender because all he does while he's talking to you is you can feel telepathically, you can hear him telepathically waiting to know when he could touch you, or if he can go in your room at night, or if he's obsessing with maybe seeing an aspect of your breast pop out. Now, don't get me wrong, that's not all community offenders, because there are men who just like women and they like the woman that's in front of the woman who's in front of them. So they are just a piece. So I don't want to mix up that too, because a man can just like you and just be all into you. And there are men who totally just obsess with you. Okay, when I say obsessed, I just mean like he sees you. Some men get nervous when they're with you. Sometimes they may act the part of a community offender and they're really not, because maybe they're all into you, and the way that they look at you is like food. You look like a Happy Meal. and he just wants to be okay. So someone's saying, what about the women who use their stargates to trap men and suck their in? Well, we talked about the insectilian female. We talked about the vampiric female. There are vampiric females who utilize their stargates. And I wouldn't call stargates because I don't know what's coming through those gates, but they utilize their yoni to parasite off of males, whether it be financially, whether it be energetically, or maybe to harm or just to feed off of his energetic field. There are those, and usually we call them side chicks. Okay, so what's that term? Is it side chicks? Am I saying it right? Side chicks? Side chicks, or what is it called? Side chicks or thoughts? What are thoughts? Yeah, Sir FleurBrun is of a certain age. I've heard the word thoughts, right? Are they side chicks or thoughts? Those are women who are parasitics. They're vampiric. Okay, you'll recognize those women because they don't like other women. They don't like other good-looking women either. They don't like when any woman has in contact. They don't like women who deemingly or threatening to them. They're usually women who say the first conversation you have with a woman is like, I usually don't get along with other women. I don't usually like hanging out with other girls. That's code for I don't like other competition around me. I want to be the only one wanted, and I want to be the only one to have access to whatever I want. That's code for that. I know a lot of women won't like that I say that because they say it themselves. That is code that you have an issue with other women because you're not sitting well in the sisterhood. You would be okay sitting around anyone. Listen, I know. Listen, some of you are the most beautiful, lovely, sexiest, fantastic, attractive, smart, intellectually sound women I know. I will sit at a table with you proud every single time. I will bring my mate on the table so he can recognize other beautiful women around me. That's a woman who's in confidence, okay? That's a woman who's okay with other sisters. If you're hiding your man from your sea stars, that is a quality that says something about your insecurity, about what you may do. Okay, so if you're healthy, women who are parasitic generally show up as competition type of women. Remember, I made a video on my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law tried on my panties. I shouldn't even say this publicly. I'm sorry. My mother-in-law was in competition with me and with the Nazi. She tried on my panties. I left my panties. Remember back in the days, you guys don't have them anymore. Remember the panties where you have smiley face? See, we didn't have emojis and stuff. So back in the days, you have smileys on your panties. Yeah, she tried on my drawers. I left them at the house. You know, I'm West Indian. Sometimes we wash our panties and leave them in the bath. I know. This is why I say I don't really hold anything back. They leave them in the bathroom. She came to my house and she tried on, and then she told me she tried on my panties, but she was in competition with me with her son. She was the one who told me, all you Latino women keep taking our men. I'm not even Latino. You know, I have someone in my family, but I'm not. Do you see what I'm saying? She was in competition with me, but she doesn't like other women. And I asked her, I said, how come you don't like other women? She does not like other women. But she was also sleeping with someone's husband for over 10 years. Listen to me, family. I'm giving you all this tea. Take your sip, because some of you don't know. I'm teaching you what I've gained. Listen, she was sleeping with someone else's husband for 10 years. And this is the one who raised the Nazi. That's why I say the fruit does not fall far from the tree, family. Violators create seeds that are violators. Okay? She was a violator herself. She was in competition for me. Listen, I was her number one nemesis. She made my life unbearable. But I will say she's so much sweeter now that I'm not with her son. Listen to that. She was in competition with his wife. Sad. Yeah, trying on my drawers, my panties, and then tell me about it. That's what those are competition, and those are the women that sleep with people's husbands. Those are the ones you have to. They're on here right now. Sea stars, I gotta blow your spot because you know you're that type of person. So you need to come out of the closet and just realize who you are and maybe remedy some of those type of diabolical ways. Because remember, if you're that type of person who goes around hunting other people's men, and you find that good sport and it gives you self-esteem because you want to be validated, then just know every time you get in a relationship, you will never sleep soundly, because everything you did will come right back to you. And if it doesn't come back through you, have a daughter. It will come to her. Okay? So don't think you get away with anything, lovelies. When you do dirt, you get dirt. That's a Bronx adage. When you do dirt, you get dirt. So when you're going around creeping and because you feel so good that he wants you, that's what the community wand will tell you. You're so much better than her. She argues all the time with me. She's fat. She doesn't wash her ass. Excuse my language. This is what they'll tell you. They'll tell you she's psycho. She's sick. She follows me. She stalks me. She's a bad mother. They'll tell you all this so he could get up in your yoni space, but you are just one of many. You are part of his legion of side chicks. Miss Community Wand Exhibitor. Okay? You are part of his legion of sidebar chicks that he runs through because you believe the okie doke. You don't even have enough self-awareness to even realize that you're not quite that special. The wife is the special one because remember, he picked her. Now, she's not really that special because she may not even be self-aware that he's doing this. Some wives know and they don't care because financially to them, they feel like they have, that's another conversation. But I'm just saying, sidebar chick, you need to be mindful because some of you on here who like to sneak around in other girlfriends' houses, and some of you sleep with your girlfriend. I told you I had to stop talking to somebody I knew because she was sleeping with someone's husband, and it was a friend. Listen to this. That's what I'm saying. So, yes, we have to talk about females too, because I had a girl that I was friends with and found out that she was sleeping with her best friend's husband for 10 years. Not 10 years, maybe 6 years by the time I met. 6 years. Their children are playing together, and she looks in that woman's face and talks to her, and her husband looks in the face. They're both married. Sleeps with him for 6 years. This was her friend, and then demonizes her friend because she says, oh, she's an awful person. She's a terrible person. I don't want to be friends with her anymore. No, she's not. You're the terrible person. Yeah, maybe she's not as nice, but you're nice too by sleeping with her husband. And now you're trying to find all kinds of criteria to demonize her to kind of give you a little bit reprieve from the guilt that you should be feeling by sleeping with her husband and knowing that you're a married woman. Welcome to Privileged Brown Women 101 of the MBA. I can't be friends with that. It was tragic. I remember we went to somewhere and I saw her speak to the girl. I was done. Like, she just spoke to her like it was and she was just sleeping with her husband the night before. I can't be friends. Listen, when you do dirt like that, And if I sit there and be your friend, I'm just as diabolical as you. I'm just as dirty as you. I am a tragic person for even co-signing to that type of behavior. Now, don't mind me. I'm not saying that her husband was innocent. I'm not saying the other woman was innocent. All I'm saying is that when people do violations like that, that is a character that you should be mindful of, because no one is special. They will do it to you. So when you have girlfriends that are diabolical, sleeping with other people's girlfriends, husbands, or boyfriends, or you're the diabolical man sleeping with somebody else's wife, you too will be subject to the same egregious behavior done to you or yours, whether it be you, your mother, your sister, or worse, your child. You will get it back. So for all those diabolical women and men on here who like to play around and hurt and mess up people's families, you will be subject to the same behavior and criminal karma that comes back with doing that kind of diabolical thing. Okay? And I married into that. Remember, I told you my mother-in-law was a violator of other people. She didn't have friends. She didn't have girlfriends. She didn't like girlfriends. She was in competition with women, and including her son's wife. Okay? I'm free from that tyranny. Big up to all those who are free from the tyranny of the mother-in-laws from hell. I'm actually not free from her, but like I said, she's so much nicer to me now that me and her son are not together, right? But she has not a girlfriend. She doesn't have even a girlfriend to call. She has no girlfriends. That is a sign of that is in competition. So I'm just saying, for those who want signs of the female aspect, if you have a girlfriend right now or you are the violator, that is a sign of a parasitic community. I was gonna say punane, community yoni. I don't even want to call her in between her legs or yoni. Her community punning. Okay, that's community punning. That's someone who doesn't care, who just violates other people to get her own sort of. She wants to just get she just wants to get what is it? Credence, justification for her behavior. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So I always watch when a woman says to me, the first thing she says to me, "Oh, I like you. I normally don't like other females." Best believe I put that on my checklist, because I know that she's a violator of other women. Oh, thank you, Aris. Oh, someone made a donation. Thank you. I appreciate it. Love you, Fleur Progress. Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. But I'm just saying, that's a violator of other women. Do you know that? Recognize that. And just listen, you don't have to be mean to her, because remember, we've all been through Listen, I told you, I've come a ways, okay? So how I was when I was young is different than how I am seasoned. I've evolved, but I've learned and I've been able to gain wisdom, and I am sharing it with you. Take it, what I would have desired for myself. Take it. My mom and dad were married forever. So I didn't really have, and I have aunties and uncles that were married forever. I came from married people that got married when they were virgins. I know. Go figure. You see how, that's where I get some of that sweet disposition. My mother was a virgin when she got with my father. My auntie was a virgin before she got with my uncle. My family, they do that. So I didn't have, you see this conversation? I wish I had that. That I didn't have, my mother couldn't share the diabolicalness of some. Now, there was some dirt that happened with my mom and dad, but nothing to the degree where it severed their ties forever. Okay, that's another conversation. But I'm just saying, I didn't have the intel of my mom telling me that being with a certain kind of guy would create this. She didn't have it because it's not what she realized. She didn't know. And she came from foreign people. She was in a different country. My father as well. So all I knew was kind, sweet people. So when I went into the gate dating, and that's why I didn't have many boyfriends. I had 1.5 and I got married after that. I didn't know that the beast that I was with, that certain criteria would have showed he would have been diabolical. And I hid a lot from my mother. Okay, so I'm just saying, this intel is from me to you, loves. It's free and clear. I want you to know what these community penile offenders do, and I want you to see how you can free yourself from them. Listen, there is nothing like making love to a man who adores you. Listen to me, C-Stars. I've talked to so many C-Stars who've never had sex with a man who loved and adored them. There is nothing like being in love with yourself before you even make love to a man who adores you. Because part of being with a man who adores you is loving yourself. Once you love yourself, everything out of yourself has to match it. So listen, I am oiled up. I feel good today. I appreciate how I feel. I appreciate my 2 arms, 2 legs. I appreciate that I have a roof that I appreciate over my head. I appreciate that I can go do the things. I'm in self-appreciation. So anything that I engage with has to reflect that, has to bounce that back to me. Do you understand? So when I love myself, I can be with someone who adores me. Because there is nothing, I tell my sea stars all the time, I want you to be with a mate who adores you. Because when you're with him, it is magic. That is why they create this. Oh, Lynn, big up to Lynn. Oh, we're gonna do something, sea stars. I forgot to tell you. Big up to Lynn. I was talking to Lynn before this. Lynn has a lot of great intel. So we're talking about there's a contract that keeps a program that keeps running. It's called the Tragic Relationship Program. It's a program that's in every timeline. We were discussing it. It's a tragic love story. Oh, thank you, everyone. Oh, thank you, Empress. Thank you, Empress Meech 222. Thank you. That was so sweet. I appreciate that. It's very kind. I didn't even know you could do that. I think I saw that one time before. Thank you, ladies. Thank you. It's very beautiful. But there's a program that we are going to breach it. So I was talking to Lynn today. Big up to Lynn. We were talking right before this. We were talking about there is a program that's reoccurring in every timeline. It's called the Tragic Love Story Timeline that we're all imprinted with because it's a program that keeps running. Now, we want to find a way to not, because there's a way to get the contract to break it yourself, right, Lynn? But we're going to find one of our sea stars because it has to be a certain type of person that can get into the binary codes. I don't want to tell too much because they try to shut down my channel. But we want to get the one who could like we broke the imperial code of patriarchy. I want to find a sea star and I'm going to try to do it. I only saw the binary code, twice, but only for a very short period of time. Watch the movie Lucy. Watch Lucy when she sees the binary codes. Remember, she's moving them back and forth. We can get the code, the binary code for tragic love stories, and we can X-mate it from everywhere, from the whole planet, because that was done from the moon. The dark side of the moon, that moon is a satellite that is imprinting these programs on us, and that program is part of the matrix. So if one of you, because I'm not the highest frequency, I'm high, but we need a frequency of someone who can actually see the binary codes long enough. Maybe we should get together. We need someone who sees the binary codes, and we need to omit it. You know how you get to many of you are gamers. When you're a gamer and you go into you play these games and you have to, in order to blow up all the connections to all these, to these, I don't know what is like viruses. You have to go to the mothership and blow it up, and then everything connected to the mothership blows up. We have to go and do this. So we get into binary codes and we X-mate this tragic love story, because what it is it's perpetually in every timeline, and it's affecting each one of us. So every time any type of sea star gets in, or man or sun star gets in a relationship, we have a tragic timeline program that is looping in each timeline. So even if you break it here and you break that contract, it's in another timeline, so it's going to eventually leach back into yours. We have to get into the binary codes and X-mate it. We're going to find out how to do it. I told you, when I found out how to break the reptilian code and see them, I'm going to work on it so we can get rid of this timeline, because that will help assist us in being able to have cohesive relationships. Part of the intel is doing this, but the relationship aspects that are so tragic is because there's a program looping that they put in here. So we're unable to get with our twin flames. We're unable to really source together because there's like some sort of code in there, so that we each, this program that we're going through tragic love stories. So you'll get with a girl who gets a wonderful man and all of a sudden he dies the next day or the next week. Or you get someone who gets with a man and he has like 12 children with 20 million women. Or you get a man, you get with a beautiful woman, and then you find out that she's really, Tom, and he's been in transition for a couple years. I'm just saying, I'm not disrespecting transsexual. I'm just saying these are the type of tragic relationships that come with this program. Okay, I'm not disrespecting any of the transsexuals, because sometimes they think I'm just saying, if you're a man who likes just men and then you find out the woman that you're in love with is in transition, it might mess with your brain, right? So that's all I'm saying. Okay, see Lucy again. I watch what. Remember, I saw the binary codes. I only saw it for a couple seconds. I didn't have a chance to do anything with it. And they try to limit me because they always try to knock down my page. Anyway, So anyway, I think I talked enough. Did I give you enough intel? So 12 children with 20 million women. I'm sorry. I get a little exaggeratory. Um, oh, it's transgender. What did I say? Transsexual, transgender. I'm sorry, transgender. But there are many relationships where transgenders have good relationships with people who are okay with them being transgender. I'm just bringing that up as an example of somebody who does not want that. Okay. Um, Let me read some of your comments. Could you say released, deleted, destroyed from all dimensions and directions of time? I think that would be Destiny. That's a good one. I like that. Could release, deleted, destroyed. But remember the language. This English language. You know what, family? We got to do something translingual. Why I say that? Because I think we've discussed this before. The English language is bastardized, and even when you flip it, it's all sigils and all kinds of anagrams. We've got to find a way to do translingual. Now, a lot of our light language people, that especially a lot of women who have color in the black church, I don't want to say the black church, the melanin dominant church, do this light language. It's called speaking in tongues. That's a form of translingual. We have to find a way to utilize. Remember, we're going to come together. We always, whenever we manifest this easily. We did it with our shield. We're going to find a way to be translingual to break these contracts verbally. But I really want to go further, family. I know that we can do the contracts. And big up to Borzine. Borzine was the first one to give us the first contract, which I love. I love you, Borzine. Mwah, mwah, mwah. My love. But we need to find a way to get into the binary codes. Now, remember, you have to be of a certain frequency. There's not many of us who have that. Like I said, I only saw it for a few seconds, and I'm not the highest person in frequency. I have, I'm heightened and I have moments. But we have to find someone who can actually get into the binary codes, or someone who's translingual, meaning one who's really mastered in the light language, and we can kind of work with the contract, breaking the contract in that way. We got to figure that out. See, DMT, a lot of people who use some of the mushrooms in the DMT, the problem with that is when you scapegoat that level, it's called scapegoating. When you scapegoat that level, we get there naturally without being invoked by any chemical composition outside of ourselves. Wait, hold on. I'm sorry, I had to see the time. I stay drug free. Why? Because people are asking, how come you don't even tote weed? I've tried weed before. I tell people I've chiefed before. Chiefed before. It's not that I haven't done that, but because I see so much already, I want to stay consistent with my own frequency, and I want to make sure I'm not what do you call it? I want to make sure that everything that's happening to me is happening naturally, so it stays there. If you start tripping on stuff and doing stuff, you only get to that heightened state for a minute, and then you're going to go back down. And sometimes it's lower because you can't even match that same, because it messes with your biosphere. So you got to be careful with that. It's better to build gradually. It's almost like when you lose weight too fast. You ever, I'm a thickums. When you lose weight too fast, it just drops off, but then, then you gain it quicker. You know what I mean? So you got to be careful with that, because when you go too high up, unnaturally, it's not something you can keep perpetually, and you can't keep it consistent. That's all. And I don't judge my chiefers. Big up to the chiefers on here. My chiefers, they do what they do. I told you they gave me this Colorado candy, whatever it's called. They gave me some Colorado candy. And I was dressed like an angel, and I was an angel down. I didn't know what that was. They told me they said might have been some marijuana. They said it was a little bit of marijuana. No, they said it was, what do they call it? The candy that the distillery, I don't know what they call it. Anyway, they said it was a little candy. They told me to take a little bit of chocolate. This is a while back. They told me to take a little bit of chocolate. I was dressed like an angel for Halloween. I was dancing on stage. I had the security guards doing conga lines around the room. I need to stay sober. I was in another dimension. And at the end of the night, the angel was down. My feathers were everywhere. Yeah, I didn't. I only had a little piece of chocolate, whatever it's called. No, it's chocolate that has marijuana in it. It's called Colorado candy. I didn't know what it was. My girlfriend said, I know you don't smoke marijuana, but, you know, try a little candy. And I just had a little tiny piece of chocolate. It wasn't even that big a deal. Chocolate tastes good, but I was gone. I was gone for 5 hours. The high stayed. It was high for 5 hours on a little piece of chocolate. I will stay far, far away from that. Was terrible. At the beginning, like I said, I was dancing on the stage with the DJ. He let me dance as an angel. I was hot dressed as I like to do Halloween. So I dancing with my wings, looking all, svelte. And then I had the security guards doing the conga line. Yeah, I'm sure y'all would have enjoyed the sight. But at the end of the night, nobody wants to stay high for 5 hours. At least I thought it was crazy. I think that's crazy. I don't like things like that. I like being sober, seeing things naturally so I can confirm it, and I have rationality to it. That's just me. Yeah. No, it wasn't brownies, but see, brownies, I'm not talking about regular people putting, what are those places called? You guys know. Some of you are in places where they sell these, and it's, edibles, right? L. Summons? No, they're called dispensaries. Thank you. No, look, I can't even see now. Thank you now, dispensary. Thank you. Yeah, I didn't, I said distillery like it was a wine or liquor. No, yeah, distillery. Yeah, it was, I don't know. Distillery. It was too strong. I was traumatized. I'm traumatized from that. She gave me, they have jokes, they have pictures. Listen, they have pictures of me that I don't even remember. I was somewhere else. All I remember seeing the colors look beautiful, dancing on stage. I like to dance, so anywhere I go, I'm gonna go on stage is what I do. I'll do it sober, but you can imagine me on some edible, whatever it was. I saw pictures. I looked divine, but I don't remember them. Angel went down 5 hours later. Yeah. I think it was abusive. I told her don't ever do that again. When the issue was, and I know I'm sidebarring, but the issue was me taking something like that. Remember how I eat. So you take somebody who eats fresh vegetables and veggies every day, all day. I drink green smoothies. I drink coffees the most, decaf. Well, at the time I was drinking real coffee, but that's as strong as anything I get in my system. So you take somebody who does not take aspirin, rarely. Anytime I take an aspirin was when they forced me in the hospital, but I don't take any drugs. I'm drug free. I'm alcohol free. You give someone like that, somebody's body who eats that kind of way, it was stronger for me than somebody else. So it was a little abusive to me. She didn't know. She wasn't trying to hurt me, but you can't give someone like that to somebody who eats that way, because I wasn't even prepared for that type of interaction. I didn't want that. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think it would have been better smoking, chiefing, than doing something like that. It was, like I said, at the beginning of the night, it was okay, but 5 hours later, you're still high. I think that's abusive. I think that's not even natural. I don't know what kind of chemical that is. They call marijuana in food, but it didn't feel like it felt like something else. Am I a witch? Am I a good witch or a bad witch? Do you watch, you asked me if I'm a witch. What did Lisa say? She said, am I a witch? Did you watch, what is it? Wizard of Oz? When Dorothy landed on the witch, she said, Glinda the witch said, are you a good witch and a bad witch? You know what her answer is? That's my answer. Why? I'm not a witch at all. Why do you guys ask me if I'm a witch? Big up to the witches on here. I appreciate you. Witches, because sometimes you do witchy things to balance the tides of some of the things. Big up to some of you beings who are occultists on here. Listen, on this site, you know what it is? Sometimes people come on my channel and they're confused because they're like, is she a witch? Is she an alien? I'm balanced. I know I'm a liaison with a lot of beings, okay? I'm down with a lot of sects. So it can be confusing when you come on my page because you're like, wow, there's so many different types of people, because I'm inclusive. This is an inclusive page. There's lunars, meaning white people. There's melanin dominant people, meaning quote unquote brown people. There's Asiatic people on this page. There's Latinos on this page. There's Arabic people on this page. There's Judaic people. I'm inclusive. I'm all about unity consciousness. Someone asked me the other day, they said, do you hate, because some of the interpretations, I'm all about unity consciousness, y'all. So if you are not in alignment with my page won't resonate with you. I have everybody on here. I have witches, warlocks, elves, fairies. I've got galactic beings on here. I got interterrestrial beings seated on here. I got some hybrids on here, some synthetica, sometimes biobots, clones like to listen to my show. I've got all kinds of occultists, Santeria, Eurobans, Obians. I got everybody in this page. So if you got issues with multicultural people, multi-ethnic people, or spiritual people, I even got Christians. I got Christians on my page. I got everybody. I always say people get confused when they get on my page. It's like, what is she? Why do you have to identify someone when you come on a page? Why can't you just be down with whatever the discussion is? See, this is the problem with the Matrix people, the beings that are caught up in the Matrix. There's a problem with that because everybody wants to compartmentalize you. They want to put you in one little box. So, she's a brown woman. Okay, so she must be from the hood. She's, Ebonics, drop it like it's hot. You want people to put people in boxes. You got to be careful with that because that's when you call it's a limitation. And it makes me think that some of you are genetically homogenized. I tell you all the time, when you cannot see past and you're always trying to box people into certain lumps of criteria to make you feel more comfortable, it makes me think that you're limited, meaning that you might be genetically limited, meaning that your genetics are homogenized, so you only have a cap on your consciousness, or you've been, MK Ultra special like most of us, and been, imprinted with a lot of these, prejudices and biases. So you have to put somebody in a category. Like, do you not like witches? So you come to my page. So if I was a witch, you won't come here. So you shouldn't come here because there's a lot of witches on here. What if I was a Eurobin? Would you have a problem with that? If you don't like Eurobins, don't come here. If I'm an Andromedan or a Pelagian or what a Arcturian, which you don't like them, don't come here. I'm about that life. I'm all in unity consciousness. So if you don't like aliens, bounce. If you have a problem with people of color, bounce. If you don't like lunars or white people, bounce. If you don't like people who speak other languages, bounce. If you don't like us talking about sex, bounce. Oh, you don't like alchemists? You got an alchemist on Hey Sabine. You don't like them? Bounce. I'm just saying, I'm making jokes. I'm being a little facetious. I'm sorry. I apologize. I could be a little facetious sometimes. You'll learn my humor. I'm a little facetious. I play a lot because a lot of times what I think it is that, we come from so many different walks, and the problem is that the Matrix has programs to keep us separated, to keep us consistently limited. Because if you notice, all the gems we get is because we have a big family of many different type of beings. So the intel that you would get from somebody who does Obia, you'll get on this page, or my cipher. Big up to the cipher. The intel that you would get from a warlock, you'll get from this page. The intel you'll get from Pelagian hybrids, you'll get from this page. The intel you'll get from someone from South Africa who's mixed with a Centaurian, you'll get from this page. Okay, so we get a lot of things because we're sourcing together. That is why they want us divided. It is why they work so hard to make fake news with riots, with brown people and lunars. They do that purposefully to continuously keep us separated. Because remember, like in Big Mama, what was it called? What was the show? I love that movie too. Big Mama said, one finger on a hand can't do much, but 5 fingers on a mighty fist has way more power, okay? So because of that, we come in unity consciousness, and I get a lot of slack a lot of times from people who look like me, people who don't look like me, because they don't like that. They're uncomfortable coming in a room with so many different type of people. But I'm just telling you on the giddy up, if that's something that you can't rock with, you have a problem with people who look different or like you, I'm not your cup of tea. Keep it moving. I appreciate you. I wish you well. Bye. Got a lot of beings on this page. I'm unapologetic about it. You know, for years I've had to try to fight the fight, trying to defend. I defend zero. There's no reason. If you rock with this energy and this unity consciousness, then you're welcome. Everybody's welcome who rocks in unity consciousness. If you have anything otherwise, then you too can go. To see, there's a witch and alchemist. We got them all on here. I'm sorry, that poor sea star. I don't know. She probably left. You left? Did okay? Did I hurt? Did I bother you? I'm sorry. I apologize. I She won't ever ask if someone's a witch again. She'll probably say, you know what? I shouldn't have asked about that, her being a witch. She went all kinds of left. I'm an earthling on Earth. I am an earthling on an Earth planet. That's everything. That's all you need to know. When people ask me, I'll be like, what are you? I'm an earthling. And look at how they look at me. This is the look I get. They're like, what are you? What's your, because they always want to know what nationality, what are you? I'm an earthling. What can you say to that? It's true. I'm an earthling. What you want? That's everything. Okay? Let's keep it moving. Yeah. I'm an earthling. Yeah. That's not always definitive. There are beings here that are not earthlings. I give you what I am. There are beings here that are not earthlings. So if I'm telling you I'm an earthling, you should be grateful, because there's some beings here that cannot give you that answer, even if it was something that you asked that you wanted to know. There are beings here that are something else. You may not get that answer every time. Be appreciative when someone says there's an earthling, because that's not guaranteed. What do you mix with? Most people ask that question. It's disrespectful. People want to label you. That's all it is. That complexionism, that whole complexionism thing, they just want to label you. I speak the language that I want to speak at the time I speak it. Some beings are like beings from movie Extinction, exactly, Sensei. When people, they just want to compartmentalize you. Because especially when I was going to the hospital to see my mom, so I go to see her mom, some of the nurses are French, so, I talk to them in French. So a lady comes in the room, and asks what I am. Why you ask what I am? You just heard me speak French. Does that bother you? Like, why does that quantify you to the next question you ask is what I am? It's a little disrespectful. I just find it's that limited competition. Think you want to lump me in a category. What do you want to know? What, you want to know what country I'm from so you could judge me? What if I'm from Morocco? Because a lot of people from Morocco speak French. Like, where do you want to get that from? You see? But if I say things like that, I'd be hostile. So I don't answer. I just say I'm an earthling. You ask me a question, I'm going to say I'm an earthling. Now, people from my same country who speak the same language, I understand that. Like Martinicans, people from Martinique, Guadeloupe, St. Lucia, Dominica, Haiti. What happens is if I speak French, sometimes they want to know where I'm from, as far as that's concerned. I get less hostile, but sometimes I just get tired of the questions like, where are you from? Okay? Yeah, I just think they don't realize it can be disrespectful, but I try not to be hostile anymore. I just say I'm an earthling, and they can't say anything. It shuts the whole conversation down. They just give me a look. Look at the look. Wait, let me try to mimic the look. This is the look. What did I say? What did I say? Okay. Star problems. We were dancing in the hospital room yesterday. Listen, that's why I say to you, I have zero to hide. I just tell you what it is. I'm to the point, family. I told you I'm going to live in the jungle in South America, naked, unafraid, eating mangoes on my hammock with my famille who joins me, and looking at waterfalls every morning, raising my tribe, hopefully having another baby in my belly. This is my goal. So you know what my goal is. If I just tell you. So you don't have to guess. What's FleurBrun about? She just wants to live naked, unafraid, in a jungle with her people, and having real ET contact without the hiding, and living in front of a waterfall and raising her babies. That's what I want to do. I'm gonna raise your babies and my babies. How about that? That's my goal. Every time I say negative in front of my mate watches the videos, it's like, why do you have to tell them that? They gonna find out anyway. I'm sorry. I'm having a wonderful day. Let me read your comments and I'm gonna let you go. I held you up too long. This video is long. I'm hearing all kinds of things in here. Okay. They say I look mixed. Everyone's mixed on the planet. This is what I'm saying. You know what's crazy? Everybody mixed. What does mixed mean? You know what I mean? Mix is another form of judgment too. What, you mix is better? What? Really? Okay. Really? Like I used to get, when I first started the channel, big up to all my haters, but now they're part of the family. I'm okay with you now. But a lot of times when I first started the channel, people of color, like women of color, used to be like, yo, you it bothers me how you speak. Your diction bothers me. And your hair, what's up with your hair? I would be like, what's wrong with my hair? They'd be like, where are you from? I'm from here. This is a question. Are you black? What do you think I am? I'm brown. I'm copper. Yes, I'm a melanin dominant woman. What do you want to know? Well, you don't seem, African American enough. Who seems African American enough? Most of the African Americans aren't African Americans. They're indigenous. And I look just like them. And if you go to Africa, I look like them too. And if you look at the Eskimos, I look like them too. And if you go to Australia, I look like the Aboriginals there too. If you go to Hawaii, I look like the native Hawaiians. So what does that tell you? I am an earthling. I look like every being on this planet. Every place on this planet, I look just like them. When people of color come for me, I'm not the one. I'm educated. Listen, I've been educated by some hostile brown people and some very educated other people. And I've learned my history and I've traveled the world. So if you come for me, you better come all kinds of geared and ready, because I got every answer for you. And it's going to mess with your peace of mind. I am a woman of color. I look like my hair texture is anywhere in Africa. Some people in Africa have very beautiful, coily, thick hair, and some have very straight hair. So what are you saying? It's crazy. Oh, let me stop. I'm gonna stop messing with y'all. I get happy and hostile. I'm like the happy hostile person. Yeah, don't ask me what I am anymore. It's going to happen. We're going to get to the point where we just say we're earthlings. See, this is where I want to get to, where we're interacting with our galactic family enough, where that's just asking you what you are, more so ask where your origin is, what planet you're from. So I'm from planet Earth, okay? I'm an Earth being, okay? I'm Earthling. I'm mixed with the Andromedans. The Andromedans are Mayans. That's why I look the way I look. Okay, my native Andromedan sea stars look just like me. Okay, so I am an earthling. That's it. And I suggest you all get that response. Lunars, brown people, Asiatics, Arabic, tell them you're earthling. You'll stop getting people asking you silly questions that are related to some sort of prejudice that they want to compartmentalize you when they want to judge you. They want to judge you so they can put you in a box. Why are you going to let them put you, so they could limit you to that? No, don't, disallow the limitation. Disallow the limitation. It's unnecessary. That's part of the old system of the Matrix, to put differences in people so that we all stay separated, so that we never unite. You can have many different types of beings on one planet, but other than that, it's usually one type of species. The problem is we are living on a planet with a lot of cloaked beings who are of other species. Now that's the issue. Now, if you ask me what species I am, I will tell you Earthling, and I have a little extra. But that's what you really need to ask. What species are you? Are you even human? Are you humanoid, or are you human? Are you a biological human, or are you a synthetica? Are you a clone? Are you a replicate? Start asking those questions. I bet you will get some interesting answers, or no answers at all. How about that? I want to know what type of reptilian you are. I want to know who seeded you. How about that? Oh, Kara, you going to work? I'm sorry. I'll see you after work, Kara. Come hang out after work. See, that's what I'm saying. We having real conversations. Okay, I think I've shared enough. My video, I at least stay on topic? I stayed on topic for most of this, right? I think I stayed on topic. I try to okay. Ray Bodica, I think I stayed on topic. I tried to stay on topic. I stayed on topic for the majority of the video. But I kind of go off left after having conversations. I think I came from 2 lives. Well, some people are walk-ins too. We got a lot going on this planet. And some of you are living in different universes as different beings. Once the time collapses into 0 point, we'll all know each other. We'll actually reacquaint ourselves with each other, okay? Because I think what happens is that the timelines are converging. A lot is being revealed so quickly. It's a lot to intake. So I think once we get closer to 0 point, this will be these conversations will be at ease, and they won't even have to be necessary. Okay. You got Mayan in the house. There's one in my bedroom right there. What up? It's a Mayan. To see, I love when our sea stars show up. Come on, you Maya warriors. That bloodline is beautiful. It's strong. It's powerful. It's endearing. Don't mess with the Andromedans though, because they will come for you. Watch Aliens versus Predator. That's how we get down. We watch our sea stars go and battle to the end, and they get mad respect. How do you know if we're Mayans or whatever? What do you mean, whatever? How do you know? You should know. You know who you are. Don't ever ask a question. You know who you are. You know who you are. Whoever you resonate with, that's who you are, love. Whoever you feel. Like, a lot of times what it is that you're always looking for outside validation. You know who you are. You know what you like. The things that drive you is who you are. That's how you know. Like the fairy people, the elementals like myself, I'm an elemental as well. I'm an elemental. It's not separate from me being seeded from the Andromedans is what I am. But many of the elementals or people connected to the fairies love flowers and outdoors and love soil and love stories about the gnomes and the unicorns. They're connected to nature. They hear the twinkles. Sometimes they see the fairies. Those are elementals. Those are beings that are seeded from that elemental realm. Okay. Those who are seeded from other realms. See, some of you love Kemet, stories of Kemet, ancient Kemet, where you know stories about the Egyptians. You remember seeing the Anubis, or you remember having the beetle on you, scarab on you. You remember things like that. You have that imprint on you. That's more of the connection to some of the beings that are connected to that, which would be the Anunnaki, especially in the Nega line. Ancient Kemet is purely Nega. Now, the South Africans and some of the Kenyans and some of the people from the Congo, now that's the Centaurians. The Centaurians are really in home court advantage for the year, even though they didn't seem like it, but they were the ones being worshipped. The dark. What's his name talked about, what's his name? He wrote The Ringmakers of Saturn. Brogram, okay? Brogram wrote the book, The Ringmakers of Saturn, that's connected to the Centaurians. Also, people in parts of West Africa and South Africa connected to the Mer people, the Mer beings from Sirius B. So they're connected to Sirius B. That's why the Nomos had, what do you call it? Some of the Pygmy had the stories of Sirius B, okay? Connected to the beings in South Africa and parts of that part of the spore in that part of Africa are connected to many of the Mer beings, Mer family. Those are actually cousins to some of the Mer. They were exchanging some of the goods in the waterways with their Mer family in the water. Okay, so those are beings connected to some of the beings from Sirius B and C. Okay, in Africa, so Anunnaki in Africa, that part of Africa. Sumerians remember those times. You remember a lot of the graphics from that time, the scents from that time. You know who you are based on your memories. Like, you have your cellular memories. You don't lose those. We get them muted through food and vaccinations and suppression, MK Ultra through television. But those suppressions are very limited. your cellular memories are always there. They may be a little more dormant, but if you cleanse yourself, do a lot of, sometimes we do fasting and stuff like that, you clear those, that get less muted, and you have more memories of who you are. Animals don't have cellular muting. They remember who they are from birth. Ants do. It's just we have that muting of our cellular memories based on a lot of the vaccinations and indoctrinations, and they do a triple fold on us. Okay. Some of you remember dragons, the dragons. I saw a white dragon. KM said she saw a dragon. See, I'm saying who you are. Don't ever rely on people outside. Please don't go to these readers and say, "Oh, you're a Pelagian, sea star from Galactic 243." Please don't do that. Please don't play yourself by going to people who don't. You know you better than you know you. Okay? So when you go to all these outside sources telling you who and what you are, then you stick to these false stories. It's just like when the colonizers came here and told the brown people that they're Africans, and now generations later, all the brown people here think that they're African Americans, and they're really Americans, indigenous Americans that were already here. They have pictures of them in Italy with afros, and Columbus thought he was in Africa. So all these poor disillusioned brown people that are Christians here that think that they're actually African American, that's purposefully done to disguise where you come from, and also to displace you mentally and physically, geographically, so you don't ever own aspects of yourself. That's a lie. 90%, no, 90%. Pissing people off. I have facts. I have facts to cover this. Before, it was all, we had to get the information. 90% of the brown people here today are mostly, if they're not from other places, now, I tell you I'm mixed with the Caribbean and the Arawak, and tell from Central and South America. That's where my people were, okay? That's why I'm mixed with mostly the indigenous from the Americas, okay? I'm the indigenous from the Americas. I am, genetically. But most of the brown people here have no sort of inkling. That's why they do well in certain locations. Brown people will move certain places in the States and they do well because they're genetically from here. But you listen to people who are colonized. Remember, history is written by victors, not victims. Listen to that. History is always written or rewritten by victors, not victims. Anytime a society is dominated and conquered, the history is rewritten in favor of the dominating ones. Okay? So brown people from here, you are from here. All those people on the reservations, a lot of those are $5 Indians who paid, their families paid for the national. You see, you got to have me go, you have me getting hostile again. They paid for the nationality of indigenous to get certain perks. So that's why they're so light. That's why they don't look, that's why they look Asiatic. Those are not indigenous. They're not the blood of the indigenous. They don't even realize it. Some of them mix with some of the indigenous. I don't want to be disrespectful. I'm not going to be disrespectful. Some of them are mixed with it. But there were no Asiatics that were purely indigenous here or European looking indigenous here. It was not there. So if you don't have my color or somewhat my hair texture or thicker, you're not indigenous. You're not quantified. You can't even be over 20% that, because you would show the phenotype would show up if you're indigenous from here. Okay? It pisses me off because I see a lot of people on these, and I know them, and I see a lot of people on these reservations who I know for a fact are genetic $5 Indians whose families paid to take on that nationality, and are now calling the shots and who could be called Native American or not. It's disgusting. And those are not really Native Americans. Okay? I'm sorry. I don't want to get hostile, but it's a fact. You can look it up, and there's actual factual documentation of this now, because we're in the age of Aquarius. Everything's coming in the age of Aquarius. All the truth is coming out. Those beings that you see in your history books are lies. Those are not natives. A lot of the people that came here, remember, there were a lot of Asians that came from parts of Asia, moved here with the Europeans when they came here, and they mixed with the local people, the indigenous. Now, they displaced a lot of the indigenous. So some of the indigenous that lived in South Florida ended up being displaced and going to Connecticut. They did that purposefully. Some of those indigenous were sent to the Caribbean. Okay, so they displaced them, so they thought they were in different countries. That was purposefully done. And they mixed them along with other people who spoke different tongues, different customs. All right? So yes, I'm talking about the majority of people on a lot of these plantations, and we're actually taking and I say we are taking back those that lineage because that has been sidebarred, and there's a lot of, now it's coming out. So and I don't want to be disrespectful to the ones that don't even know that they're $5 Indians, but $5 Indians are quantified. If you do not hold the phenotype, I'm sorry, I just had a phone call. Okay. And I want to be disrespectful. And remember, family, when I say colonizers, remember, not all lunars are colonizers, okay? They're not. So the people that came here with the names that are, you know the names because they have certain surnames. Those are colonizers. I don't want to be disrespectful. A lot of lunars get lumped in with people who came here and benefited off of taking over the indigenous lands. Many lunars have nothing to do with that are here nowadays. They were immigrants that came later. So a lot of lunars get a lot of flack for being called colonizers, and they're not, okay, just because they're a fair skin. They're not all colonizers. Colonizers have certain surnames, and the majority of colonizers are the ones that are the Bilderbergs, who have all the banks, who are holding all the wealth, okay? So most lunars have nothing to do with colonization. They just came because there were people who paved the way for them to come abroad. So not all white people, and I want to say this because a lot of times brown people get hostile towards all white people. It's not true. It's not true. Know your history and stop being hostile towards everybody who look, just like we don't want all lunars being hostile towards all brown people and thinking we're all criminals and we're heathens. Okay, we have to be a little more a little more grounded and a little more self-aware. Okay, most lunars that came after the fact. Any lunar or white person who has benefited from the colonization, they are all wealthy. All the wealthiest families, all the Bilderbergs, all those people, they were the ones who are the colonizers, not the basic lunars that you come across every day who are working regular jobs. We got to be a little more mindful. So, and that's why I say that to many, because a lot of my lunar girlfriends say to me, you know, some of the brown people get hostile thinking I'm a colonizer. No, colonizers are the ones who first stepped here, who ended up killing and murdering. That's a certain kind of being. And a lot of those colonizers were not, listen to me, family, are not even of the same species. They're not even human. They're not human. They look like lunars, but most of them are draconians and other types of insectilian type of breeds. They're not even human. So even though they came from Europe, but they didn't come from Europe. They came from another solar system. They came from other places. I'm just saying. So let's just keep, you know, sometimes we have to make sure we keep balanced in our thought form because they want us to hate each other. So they will tell you that every lunar is against brown people, and that's I can personally say I disagree. Now there's some lunars that hate brown people. Yes, I agree. I said some, but not all. And you don't want to lump people because it's all a personal thing too. And we have to think that there's programs running daily to create all this type of mental species complexionism that people are going under every day. So if they have a problem with you, it's because they're also being programmed to have a problem with you. Okay? But let's go back to the fact that the reservations, the majority of people on reservations are not native indigenous. And we need to have access to their burial grounds to go deep enough and far enough to find that my phenotype and those likened to me need to be found to quantify the genetic markers so that we can test people to really confirm that they are native indigenous, which we know they are. But that's where we're going. People get uncomfortable with these conversations about complexion. You need to get comfortable about it because if we're going to go to unity consciousness, everything has to be out on the table, okay? Everything has to be out on the table. You have to discuss it. You can't act like it doesn't exist. There are prejudices based on complexion. That exists. Don't deny it. It is what it is, but we're getting to it. But it's all a farce. It's all a farce. And the people who are perpetuating complexionism aren't even human. They're not even human. They're other species, and they're the ones causing all the problems. You can't figure out madness. Yeah, there's no such thing. There's lighter skin humans, earthlings, and there's darker skin humans on this planet. But not everything is the same, and not everything in here is human. I told somebody that I was like, y'all are mad at some y'all are mad at beings that aren't even human. So you're looking at, you need to watch some Doctor Who. Big up to Barry Littleton. Barry Littleton and I always talk about Doctor Who because I grew up watching Doctor Who in England because I had a lot of Canadian television. My parents, my parents aren't American. So I watch a lot of Canadian television, English television, European television when I was little. But Doctor Who will show you who the reptilians really are. Okay? Watch some Doctor Who and you see them shapeshift. And you're like, oh, she's the queen. And then she shapeshifts into an insect. You're like, oh, snap. What is she? She's not even human. Oh, it's so funny. I'm sorry. You gotta laugh at these things because if you take things too seriously, you'll just fall apart. You'll just fall apart on the planet. If you take everything that they do, you need to laugh in these faces because listen, if you have a soul, the only person who are worried here, the only people who are provocatoring on this planet right now are people who are about to lose their footing. That's why I say stay out of their business. The only people who are in fear right now, we're excited. I'm excited. I'm excited because we're going into a higher field of existence. I'm grateful that our galactic interactions can be more overt. I'm grateful that we'll live in a healthier time with much more sustainable air, healthier environment to raise our babies. I'm excited about that. So I'm just saying, I'm good. All those others who are upset and scared and provocatory, like, the crazy man that got kicked off of all those sites, InfoWars, he got kicked, Alex Jones, he got kicked. He's out of the frequency. He's creating fear and fear because his people, whoever he's associated with, are fearful because they're losing their footing. Everybody else should be good. You shouldn't worry about the what you consider to be negative. If you have a soul, not all of you have souls. If you have a soul, you're everlasting. You're like an everlasting battery. You'll get rid of one avatar and get yourself another one. Okay? That's why they're mad at you. They hate on you. They're jealous of you. That's why a lot of beings try to attach to you because they want to be you. Okay? So if you have a soul, you're good. But for all those who are clones, who don't have a soul, who when they die, they're dead, this black, fade to black, it's a real thing. Syntheticas, biobots, when they're done, all these reptilians in the fourth dimension that have no soul, they kind of are entrapped in that dimension. They can't go anywhere. They're done. When they lose their bodies, they're done. That's why they do all this transhumanism. That's why they're trying to transfer their little, their zest of their minds into other beings. Watch Get Out. They're doing it purposefully because they can't exist. They can't reincarnate because they're done. Biobots, clones, syntheticas, all these lower fields reptilians are done. So that's why they put all this fear. They're scared. They're scared. They're frightened. They should be. You should be celebrating. We're going to have parties. We're going to be celebrating with mangoes and cherries. We'll be dancing with the babies. We're going to have lots of congratulations to all the new babies coming. I remember we did the thing for all the new babies. Congratulations to all the babies. We're going to enjoy ourselves. Stop being hostile. Enjoy yourself. Make love. Have fun. You have a goal, right? You get into your goal. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy the scenery. I tell you all the time. All these warmongers, they're afraid. Let them be afraid. They should. We're going back to a more homeostasis, a healthy homeostasis in the cycle. We're going back to the cycle of the matriarchy. Many of them are afraid. You know why? Because they did so much dirt, they can't come back from it. So they know they got to hide underground, and they don't realize when they go underground, there's some beings under there that going to eat them alive, and they're not going to be able to coexist there. Okay? Why are you going to be fearful? Enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself. Do what you want to do. Enjoy. Be good to people. As long as you're good to people and you appreciate, you appreciate life. Yeah, just enjoy. I tell you stuff not to scare you. That's why I try to always give you that's why I try to always give you good things when I tell you things, right? I don't want to tell you just things that you can't help. I mean, what's the point of telling you things and you can't really do anything about it, right? So we talk about the things that are issue, then we try to make sure we have resolved them. We have indications of what they are so we can find them. And hopefully one of you sea stars, I don't have time to do this, and nor do I have the energy to do it. But for one of our sea stars, they're probably going to create a site called the Community Penile Offenders. And you'll be able to go to that website. I'm giving you sea stars. Some of you are techies on here. I hope you're doing this. Please let it be one of our sea stars who does this. Don't give this information to somebody else and then they make a living off of this. You can do this, okay? If you have time, resources, and you're in techie, by all means create the site, as long as you make sure you have an attorney. If you need an attorney, we'll get an attorney. So make sure nothing's, because people are very litigious, okay? So we'll make sure. But we're gonna have penile violators website. You can go and check and make sure, do a reference check, make sure that one of your potential magic wands that you'd like to have engaged with you isn't on that site, being a violator of the divine. Make sure he isn't a pedophile, a R. Kelly specialist, what's his name? His name won't come in my head. Russell Simmons violator. You put him under tiers. Like Russell Simmons, put him under a tier, and all those violators have his qualities. Put him under R. Kelly, so he's like a pedophile, hiding his homosexuality and violator of all females, and put him in tiers. So when you go to the site, let me see if he's under pedophile, R. Kelly pedophile. Oh, he's on there. And you see him. Okay, so we need to get one of you to get the site. Okay, and we should be able to identify these penile violators. They'll disappear. They won't be able to create children anymore. We won't see their offspring on the planet. If you do this, we can get rid of some of these parasites. Because some of the, like I said, there was a man who was attached to me. He was a parasite. He was attached to somebody, using her, and then he wanted to use every female around him. You got to be careful of those. Sometimes you don't know, because you don't know what people's agendas are. But chances are, if he's doing it to one, he's going to do it to you. Okay? And females too. Males already demonize us, but you can have an extra, the special. So if men join the website, they get a discount, but then they get to see, because they demonize us anyway. So usually females who are diabolical get blown out anyway. But you can have a special for men who join the website. They get half off if they join, and then they get to see the diabolical vampiric females that are known as batteries, and you get to see categories of them. What category are they? It's terrible. If this happens, please don't blame me. I could just see it now. I'm sorry. The men are gonna be so upset. Oh wow. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about Cypher. It's so funny. Yeah. You should have specials run every Valentine's Day, because we need to know who these men out before holidays. I'm so terrible. See, if I was listen, sea stars. If I was less seasoned and I was a little more back in my 20s, I would have done this site hands down, and I wouldn't have cared of the consequences. I'm serious. Like back in the days, I wouldn't have cared. I'd be like, you know what? We're gonna make this site. We're gonna blow all their spots. I used to blow spots all the time. Blow spots. Listen, men will act better. They don't want to be put on the site. Be like, oh man, like his homie gets on the site. He'd be like, yo, you don't want to be put on that website. You'll never get a date again. He'll be like ostracized. He'll be set off to the side. There'll be 0 sea stars who mess with him just for the fact that he's diabolical. He'll have to have a dating site just for the ones on the site, ones who've been identified as penile offenders. You know how many offenders would be on this site? I listen. Well, I know people say they want to be celibate. Listen, sex is amazing. Let me just say this. Good, healthy, loving sex is amazing. Healthy, wonderful, having sex with virile males is amazing. It should be engaged with, but it should be engaged with knowledge and self-love and self-awareness. That's it. Okay? A man who loves you and adores you is the most masterful lover you will ever have. That's what you're requiring. Okay, so that's it. Just that's what most of us want and should require. Okay, he should be healthy. He should be happy. Now you can't ask what you're not. So if you're not a healthy person, if you're not nice and sweet, if you're not giving, then you have to get what you most of the time you get what you are. Okay, so if you're not a nice person, you can't expect to get a sweet nice guy who's sweet. But you should be having sex. I think if you're healthy and you're happy and you meet someone beautifully, by all means have beautiful sex. Yeah, sacred sex. See, sacred. Ashley says sacred sex. Damn right. Yes, it's beautiful. And you know, if you have sex and it's healthy, it rejuvenates you. I can always tell when a sea star is having really good sex or she's having healthy sex because she's rejuvenated. For women, sex rejuvenates us. So the more healthy, loving sex you have, the healthier and softer and younger you'll remain. So for every woman has really healthy sex, you could tell it on her face. You could see her body. It stays tight and taut because it's that energy. Because remember, we're fielding in the energy, and I talked about it on Patreon. You know, harnessing that sexual energy for self. So if you're a virgin, that's fine. I don't want you to go and jump out the gate. It's a virgin is beautiful. It means that you've really held some self-restraint so that you can have sex with someone that would be in sync with you. Or maybe you want to find a mate that's long term. I agree. I agree with that. But I'm just saying if you're ostracizing for sex and being abstinent, be careful with that, because a lot of people who go especially women get hostile and bitter if they're abstinent for too long, and they start to getting drawn up. And you can see this a lot of times when women are not sexually active. So be careful with that too. Sex is natural for human beings, okay? For animals too, but we're not animals. We're talking about earthlings. We're supposed to have healthy sex. We're supposed to. It's part of our regeneration cycle. It's part of what we do. Okay, by not doing it for long periods of time, you also cause all these people, these yogis and stuff who are saying they're meditating, who are living in mountains without women. They probably have all kinds of social problems. They're probably tripping. They're probably hallucinating from not having sex. They think that they're having ascension moments of of mastery of spirit, but really they're hallucinating because they're just pent up. I'm just saying. Oh, thank you, Rhonda. That's so sweet. You guys are donating. That's so sweet. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm just saying. Yeah, I don't believe it. That's why all these priests are touching little boys. They're all pent up. They're horny. Why would you deny some? That's what I'm saying. When people fight nature, I question them. Nature is true. When you go anti-nature, that's when you start people having issues physically and mentally. Okay? It's very natural to listen. When I meet a male that I'm attracted to, I feel it I feel it. I feel drawn to him. He feels drawn to me. It's a chemical reaction. It's meant for a male and female to come together and have, masterful sex and create beautiful seedlings. If that so be. You know what I mean? We've taken away from that. Back in the days, you mate with a male and a female that you're desiring, and it was to create the most beautiful babies. Now we're sick. Many people are just sick. They and yeah, people say, "Oh, why do you have to have sex to have children?" If you have children, you have sex. That's what comes with children, right? That's what comes with sex. Like this is what bugs me out. People will be vegans all day and say, "Oh, I won't eat seedless watermelons. I won't eat seedless fruit." But you want to have seedless sex, right? Does that make sense? Okay, so you're all about heirloom fruit and eating things that are natural, but you'll have unnatural sex. You'll have fruitless sex. That makes no sense. So you're really a hypocrite. You're really not living in. I'm not saying every time you should have sex you want to have a child, because we're humans. But I'm just saying, if a child comes from that should be something to be expected. That's what I'm saying. You should be picking proper mates so that if he in fact sees you, you're grateful to, and he should be grateful that you will bear his child. That's why he chose you. Now, if he chooses you otherwise and is unhappy with that, he's sick and you're sick. Okay? Fruitless sex is not natural. That's unnatural. Okay? It's supposed to be that way. When we come together, it's to feel together. You like the energy of one person and you want to feel it together with the other. It's to create, and that bonding together creates a beautiful being between the two. That's nature. So don't go around telling me you're having anti-type of sex or no sex, but you don't want to eat seedless fruit. even the, because someone brought up the I talk about the big up to the ancient females that are coming back on plane having children through parthenogenesis. Even the beings who, the hermaphroditic females that used to coexist on the planet before they split into males and made us psychosis, gave us a psychoses. Okay, the Aphrodisiac females before had a clitoris that was bigger, almost like a penis, and they had yoni spaces, but they would also physically engage with each other. So that's why they had that penis to actually put inside of the other one. Okay? So they did have it, even though they did not. They were giving birth through the process of parthenogenesis. They weren't seeding each other, but they could physically engage with each other. The hermaphrodites, who are female hermaphroditics who existed on the planet. That's why I tell every female we are the androgynous, because we hold both male and female. We give birth to both male and female. Your clitoris is a small penis, and your yoni gate is a yoni. It's a stargate. So you are a hermaphrodite, so to speak. That's it. So when people talk about gay males being the gateway to, what did somebody say? Gay males are the gateway to spirituality. That's untrue. They don't have a womb. You can't be a gateway when you don't have a womb. Okay, you have to have a womb to be a gateway. Okay, so the only gateways that were here are female, because we have stargates between our legs and we give birth to both men. We seed the planet. Okay, take away the females, males can't impregnate themselves. Not even a male who's having sex with another male can impregnate himself. Okay, only hermaphrodites can do that. Hermaphroditics that are female based, that are originals, and they're doing that now in, I think, in the Philippines and in Kenya and another place. There's another one that just came about who seeded herself through parthenogenesis. Okay, so booyah. Because someone was talking about, they always get into the conversation about homosexuality. I don't even get these conversations, because people ask me if I'm heterosexual because they always think I'm a lesbian because I'm so pro women. I'm not pro anything. I'm pro earthling. When someone asks me my sexuality, I say I have sex with who I'm supposed to have sex with. Why are you asking me? There's no identity. I don't identify with heterosexual or homosexual. I have sex with the part that works inside of mine. I don't have to identify, because I work within the limits of nature. Okay, so how I was built is how I engage sexually. That's it. I don't really get into that whole labeling system. I'm not judging you for how you engage sexually, but I'm just saying I have sex in a way that nature allotted me to. That's it. That's all. If you get offended from that, that means you have issues with your sexuality. It shouldn't bother you how I have sex. If you have sex the way you have sex, right? I just tell them, don't tell me you're a vegan and you believe in not eating seedless fruits and you have, seedless sex. Okay? I'm just saying, sexuality gets because you have an agenda running. That program is running all now. So people are so sensitive. If you talk about anything if you talk about anything natural in sexuality, then you're anti-unnatural. Okay? Yeah, it's a conversation that people just don't have. I tell you, I don't have a problem. I tell you what I am. I have nature. I have earthling sex. I have sex as an original earthling. Okay? That's how I have sex. So, when they ask me if I'm a lesbian, do lesbians have earthling sex? I don't know. You tell me. Do gay men have earthling sex? I don't know. You tell me. I'm not judging them. I'm just telling you what I do. Sensei, I love you. Yeah. I tell some people I don't want to get involved in your sexual business. Stop asking me about mine. You know what I mean? Everyone wants to compartmentalize you. Are you gay? Are you straight? Are you white? Are you black? Are you blue? Are you green? Why you want to know? Do you? Pay attention to your life. Why are you always asking other people questions? Do you? Why do you need to know what I am? You see me, right? So I am what you see. What are you worried about who I'm having sex with? It's not with you. So what are you concerned about? I have children. So apparently I'm having sex in a way that I deem. All right, so keep it moving. Leave me be. Oh wait, when the planet is back to its natural state, sex is going to feel. Oh, I look forward to that. I do. You can have masterful sex now. Self-awareness makes you have beautiful connection with someone. Mating is beautiful. I enjoyed it. I loved mating with someone I love. And I enjoy being pregnant. I love being seeded with life. I love my womb being seeded with life. I appreciate having beautiful, healthy babies come through my Stargate. I live for that. When I was born and a little girl, I always look forward to that. So I'm living and existing as an earthling as I really appreciate it. That's what I'm saying. Stay out of the fear tactics. I'm appreciating life. I'm so grateful. I would have more babies if I so be it. I'll have more healthy babies. As long as I have healthy babies, I'll have healthy children, and I'll be seated in the way that an earthling would be seated. I can be difficulty with kids and dogs. What happened? Seedless sex is unnatural. Um, that's how you see it. Seedless, seedless sex is something. I say it like that because it's, remember, I'm coming from a community of vegans. So remember, my consciousness and my perspective is my genre that I'm engaging with probably daily, even though I'm exposed to a much more grandiose environment and people and general people. So I see things and speak of things that are in my general consensus of frequency. That's all. If you judge that as a judgment, then it is what it is. You know what I mean? Yeah. If you like seedless, if you don't like seedless fruit, that, no, I'm talking to people who have issues with that. Some people don't care if they have seedless fruit, but I've met vegans who said they don't like seedless fruit, but they have seedless sex. That's all. That was actually a dig to them. Because it's a hypocrisy. So you care about having seedless fruit, but you don't care about having seedless sex. There's a hypocrisy. I'm just letting people see things from a total point of view, a 360 point of view. That's all I'm doing. It's not a judgment on how they do it. They can do whatever they want. But I'm saying for someone to be so obsessed with an aspect of putting something in their body that's seedless, but to take something to output something that's seedless, do you understand? It doesn't. It's an idiosyncrasy. I'm scared of seedless fruit. Well, you said it's anti-God. I'm just saying, you want another baby? Yeah, what'd you say? How do you know it's unnatural activity? How do I know something's unnatural activity? How do you know that something's an unnatural fruit? How do you know that seedless fruit is, how do you know seedless fruit is not natural? How do you know it is natural? That, you answer that question and I don't answer that. Okay? How do you know that they asked me, how do you know some sexual acts are unnatural? The same way you would know that certain things are unnatural in the things you eat or consume. Same way. Okay? You can answer that question. Defensiveness comes from guilt or lack of self-awareness, or being not definitive in what you choose in your life, not being strong enough to stand in that without anything phasing it. Okay? If something phases your consciousness and your general belief or what you do, then you should maybe rethink it and see it from another angle. Okay? Because what I do, having children, I was grateful to do. If someone said, do you question having children? I would say 0. Why? It's because I'm okay with it. If they ever question why I'd have children, or they had any criticism about it, would I get offensive, or would I get defensive, or would I ask what you mean by having children is unnatural? I wouldn't do that because I'm confident in what I do and I'm okay with it. So whatever you think about it is on somebody else. I'm okay with it. Okay? Oh, well, somebody's going to handle you on that question. Please do, admin. El Shiva said, if you're natural, you do natural. I hear you. The media is also, but remember, the media is pushing children that don't want children. Media is pushing women that don't want children, but also the media is pushing pedophilia. I just saw two women on some sort of, I don't know if it was some sort of infomercial talking about allowing men who love or people who are in love with children to live freely and put it as a sexual orientation. I just watched two of those. So many things can be pushed. And listen, the devil can make the Bible seem like it's to his will or her will, whatever you see the devil as. Okay? So, I'm just saying, anybody could flip anything anyway. It's just what it is. Nature doesn't lie, and it has anomalies, but the anomalies show up for certain reasons too. I know, it's sad, right? But they put women to make these infomercials about children pedophilia. Isn't it amazing? So it's agenda based, because why would they have women do it? They didn't want to have men say it's okay to put it as a sexual orientation, and they're all putting it under the LGBT, whatever the community, the lesbian, gay, transgender community. They're putting it under that umbrella. So this was probably always in the works when they created that umbrella. Whenever that umbrella was created, it was to eventually create tiers and subsidiaries under that umbrella that included bestiality and pedophilia. Okay. Oh, LGBT. Thank you. I don't know how to say it. I'm sorry. I'm not insulting the community. I don't know the exact LG. I know the lesbian, gay, transsexual. I think community, right? I think that's it. Yeah. So, I'm just saying, remember, not too long ago, they had in the psychological books that parts of homosexuality were abnormal. Remember, that was cleared because there were many people living in that life. So then they created an umbrella to protect those people living in that lifestyle, whether it be gay, bisexual, what have you. So they created an umbrella. But you already know the Nazis and all these governmental systems always have agendas to doing what they do. So they created an umbrella that eventually would include pedophilia and bestiality. Because bestiality is already being passed in Germany. I think parts of Germany, they have, soon they'll have necrophiliacs in there too. So that's a sexual preference. So some people like to have sex with corpses. Okay. And part of that, and people think that's a joke when I say they're going to pass a law on necrophilia. Why? Because they already promote it. I already know they do. You say, how, FleurBrun, how do they promote necrophilia? Whenever you have a society that promotes emaciated forms, like the models were all emaciated. Any woman walking around that looks like a corpse. I'm from New York, so I see a lot of the models. There's some beautiful faces, but models that are, you don't see models that are emaciated anymore and too thin. But that's a form of necrophiliac. So men who like to have sex, or women who like to have sex with emaciated looking people, corpses, people who are very thin that look like they don't eat, that are a malnutrition, that's a form of necrophiliac. See, people think that necrophilia only shows up in just people having sex with dead bodies that are lifeless, with soulless, but that's not true. It shows up before that, and people having sexual attraction to beings that look lifeless, who look dead. So people who like to have sex with people who look like corpses or are very pale or dead looking, like vampiric. People who like to have sex with people who are very, very thin, who have no form to them, who look emaciated. That's all a form of necrophilia. Now, when you go into this clinical field of psychology, you start to see that these are all interwoven and interconnected. Okay, so I always question people who have a fascination with having sex with people that look unhealthy. If someone is attracted to someone that looks like a heroin addict, and I'm not disrespecting anyone with addiction, listen to me. I'm talking about a condition. If someone has an attraction for someone who looks emaciated, to where they look sick, where they look like they don't eat, they are sickly, they look like they've been starving, they actually have no color, brown and fair, because you can have very fair skin. Remember, when I was malnutritioned from being vegan when I was younger, I lost all my color. I have a picture of myself. You would think I was Michael Jackson. Well, I lost all my color. That's a form of malnutrition, okay? When your skin lightens, okay? That's a form of necrophilia. Soon they'll be passing that because they're getting you prepared. That's why they put that when Twiggy came out in the 60s, that's how they prepared you to get ready for a new tier under that umbrella of necrophilia. So soon, if you like to have sex with corpses, they were going to allow people to have sex with corpses. Bestiality is already passed. You think I'm joking? Go look it up. Oh, she looks great. Oh, Twiggy? Yeah, But when Twiggy first came out, she was the trend. She was the initiator of that programming of necrophilia. She was the initiation of the program of necrophilia because right before that, remember they killed Marilyn Monroe. That was the death of a program. Marilyn Monroe was robust. She looks a lot like me. When I dance, people always used to say I have that Marilyn Monroe look, that Betty Boo look, because Betty Boo was very round, robust. Remember the women of the 50s and 40s, the dancers, the can-can dancers, the Rockefeller dancers, very thick women. When I say thick, like 12 and 14 size, 12 and 14. Okay, that was more reminiscent of that time. Beautiful, robust women, very busty, beautiful, round faces, just round body, just womanly looking women. Okay, so when that was the case, they cut that. When they killed Marilyn Monroe, they killed the program. That was a program of healthy looking women. When they killed Marilyn Monroe, Twiggy took over. Twiggy was a program that came in with the emaciated model form. And these models look like little boys and they look like dead corpses, okay? I don't care how much makeup you put on a corpse. It will look fantastic on a corpse, but it looks like a corpse. Anytime you're going to Fashion Week and you're sitting in front, now many of you are in a new generation where you don't see models look like thin. But I come from a generation where the models will look so sick that you knew they weren't eating. And they smelled like corpses. They had to put so much perfume in the room because they smelled like death. Anytime you have malnutrition women that are throwing up, who have bulimia and anorexia, they have a scent of bile. I'm keeping it real. This is how you know I know a lot of things because I've been in a lot of doorways. When you're going and watching them walk on the runway, you smell that. Even if they put perfume on. Corpses, they put a lot of perfume on those corpses because they had a stench. Okay? That's a problem. And any person who's attracted to that, or they perpetuate it so much you become attracted to, you're attracted to death. Necrophilia. That is the first step of actually having sex with corpses. And you take in the consideration, a lot of these women were being drugged at parties, especially at the, allegedly, at the Playboy Mansion where they were being drugged and people were having sex with women that were lifeless, running trains on them, lifeless. This is the type of society in that industry that you may not know about. I'm letting you know, allegedly. Running trains on corpses that were now lifeless, okay? Remember all the rockers back in the days looked like corpses? They even made themselves look more ghostly with putting bags underneath their eyes. Heroin was a big deal back then. That is necrophilia, okay? But now we went back to thickness. Yes, I am in style. Now we're back to, remember, we're going back into the first cycle. So now we're going back into the women that actually existed here. They're going to be taller, more Amazonian, more robust. You're going back to the ethnic woman. That's why you're starting to see women get fake butts, fake boobies, fake color, more tan, more curly hair, braids. That is all going back to the first new cycle. There was a first cycle when women, the matriarchy existed. And once a matriarchy exists, she's more round. She's more motherly. Remember all the fertility, look at all the fertility dolls. They look like me. Shaped, round, everywhere. That's part of the matriarchy. Look at the crop circle and Windsor in London that showed up on 2 days before the 31st. Okay, that's all woman. That's a matriarch. Okay, she's round. She's not overweight. Now, don't get it twisted. The matriarchy is not obese because we gotta be mindful. She's not obese. She's thick. Okay, yeah, she's not overweight and she's not unhealthy. We're not talking about obese women. We're talking about thick women that are healthy, baby bringers. Okay, a thickums will bring on healthy babies. She'll be able to bear healthy children. Someone who's obese may not even be able to get pregnant. Okay, so let's keep it balanced. Just like someone too skinny is not healthy, but someone thin is healthier. Okay, someone who's naturally slim, maybe a little healthier. Yeah, so, I know I went all kinds of sidebar. I love you. So I'm gonna go, family. Yeah. So we talked about it. I support any young sea stars or seasoned sea stars that create the website of the. Um, I hope you. Again, I want free membership for life. For the community wands penile offenders. Okay, please create the website so we can have peace of mind when we're dating and seeing people, because it would be very grateful for other sea stars to share their wisdom. And if a man is beating you and harness, he should be listed on there as number one violator. He should be on a criminal list in a female thing, and we should share it amongst each other. Like I said, men should get half price off, and to see some of the diabolical vampiric females on there as well. Okay, I just gave you the idea. Run with it, please, because we need to start to shine the light on these roaches that are, I don't even call them roaches, because roaches have more cognitive dissonance than some of these beings. We need to shine the light on some of these diabolical males that are causing havoc in the community, spreading dis-ease and infecting women with sexually transmitted demons. Okay, and women, you need to be more mindful and vigilant about the men you engage with. Like I said, I gave you some criteria to look at, to be able to identify some of these beings, so that you have much more, you'll be much more vigilant. Listen, a lot of women are saying, listen, I don't have anyone to date. That's not true. It's not true. Please don't go with this another program of lack. There's a lot of beautiful males. They get passed over a lot of times because you're looking for the criteria of the alpha, who's the abuser of women with his penile dysfunction, going around wanding everyone. Okay, that's the problem. You're attracted to the program because you've been programmed with a program of the damsel, the poor relationship. What is it called, Lynn? The tragic relationship. We're going to break that code, and so that we can be free from tragic relationships, because that's another program. We're going to be free from that. But once you know the type of male, it's not that you have to be alone. You have to change, reconfigure some of the programming that's been perpetuated in your head. Okay, because that man who talks to you every day, who you may not see as that virile soldier, he might be the sweetest, most wonderful husband and father that you could ever have. But perhaps you should look at him a little differently, because maybe you think his sweetness is weakness, when you don't realize in the field of devils, the one little God or angel is the one you need to seek. Okay? And you'd be surprised when a man who's loved and adored and respected, what he does and how he shows up beautifully to protect his woman and his family. Okay? So we need to see that a little different. Anyway, family, I'm out. I'm going to go eat some lunch. I apologize to anyone I offended. I apologize to the LGBT community. I apologize for all the emaciated women on this podcast. I apologize to all the... No, I don't apologize to any of you diabolical men. You're going down. I apologize. I just apologize for anyone offended. I apologize. I didn't offend you Christians today. Big up to the Christians who stayed on this whole cast today. I appreciate you. I apologize to everyone I offended. I love you all. I'm all in unity consciousness. It is an equal opportunity that you will, if you get offended on here sometimes, it's an equal opportunity. Don't ever feel like you're the only one. Well, I come at everybody. Especially if I'm blowing spots. There's nothing biased about it. It's all straight across the board. Anyway, I love you. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy your day. Let this be a lesson learned. And share with your girlfriends, so that they'll have those tools also. So you guys can kind of do, have your wonderful sight on what you'd like to bring into your life that's more masterful. And I want to hear about more masterful sex and beautiful, healthy babies. Okay. Peace.